like to call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Certainly. Supervisor Moore.
Present.
Councilwoman McNamara.
Present.
Councilman Iacilli.
Present.
Councilman Pell.
Present.
Thank you. I move to adopt the minutes from the regular town board meeting of February 11th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I move to adopt the minutes of the Hampton Bays Water District Commissioners meeting of February 13th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Madam Clerk, would you please read the communications?
Certainly. Following communications have been received in the office of the town clerk. We have received public notices from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation regarding permit modifications for refueling on the beach for the Bridgehampton and Sagaponack erosion control districts. Town of East Hampton, public hearing notices, New York State liquor license, 30-day advance notice to local municipality, renewal application for Mid-Ocean Drive, Bridgehampton. Emails, letters, and land use applications have been received regarding the following. Correspondence from Battery Energy Storage, BESS code amendments, Zoning Board of Appeals applications for 151 Cold Spring Point Road, Tuckahoe, and 159 Lynn Avenue in Hampton Bays. Bid and requests for proposals were received on February 19th, 2025 for bid for install and repair of sidewalks to include curbing for the highway department, bid for removal and recycling disposal of waste oil for municipal works, bid for scrap tire recycling services for municipal works, and a bid for 2 Chevrolet pickup trucks for the highway department. And that concludes the communications for this meeting's agenda.
Thank you. We do have 5 walk-on resolutions. The first is Town Board Resolution ID number 49130 to notice a public hearing to amend Town Code Chapter 157 entitled Environmental Quality Review by adding new subsection 8 designating battery storage, energy storage facilities with an aggregate nameplate AC energy capacity in excess of 600 kilowatts to a maximum of 9 megawatts as a Type 1 action for purposes of seeker. Second is Town Board Resolution ID number 49133 to recall and amend Town Board Resolution 2024-1485 to authorize the supervisor to sign a consultant agreement with Thomas Neely, DBA TFN Advisors. The third is Town Board Resolution ID number 49142 to authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with L.K. McLean Associates Engineering and Surveying DPC to provide engineering services associated with the preparation of various Community Preservation Fund applications. The fourth is Town Board Resolution ID number 49143, which is the warrant number 4, and the fifth is Town Board Resolution ID number 49149 to approve payment of application tap fee for the Suffolk County Water Authority hydrant installation at the North Sea Landfill Solar Project. I move to add these to the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. That brings us to the public hearings. Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice for the first public hearing?
Certainly. Public hearing number 1 for the dedication of open space in connection with the map known as Old Stables at Spionk.
Good evening, Supervisor, members of the board. For your consideration, as recommended by the planning board, is the acceptance of an open space parcel totaling 1.75 acres. And you can see it here in green. This 1.75 acres represents 25% of a 7-acre planned residential development plan approved by the planning board on August 24th of 2023, known as Old Stables at Spionk, and it's located in the hamlet of Spionk. The 7-acre site is located in a CR 40 zoning district and a New York State archaeological sensitive area, and is further identified as Suffolk County Tax Map number 900-350-3-88. As a result of the New York State archaeologically sensitive designation, there was a Phase 1 archaeological report prepared and no artifacts were found, so thus no further investigation is required. The final application, as you can see, consists of the 7 buildable lots, 3 and 4, And the set aside of this 25% as the 8th lot as open space. Both myself and Anthony Trezza are here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Well, I don't have any. Does anybody on the any concerns? Let's see. We don't have any cards on this public hearing, but Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to speak?
Actually, I have one question. Is the,
No one on Zoom.
is the 1.7 acres, is that wooded or is it open?
1.75, it's open, isn't it? Or
It
is
is
wooded?
wooded,
It's
It
wooded.
has to remain wooded? Okay, it's in the cover.
I think there's, wasn't there a case that we had trails? You said north?
No, there's Anthony Trezza, principal planner for the town. We put it back here. This property doesn't have any open space now, but then further north, in the back of the property, there is open space. So the goal is to create a connected wooded
Trail.
area. So this
Okay.
is wooded. Yeah,
All right, and that's remain wooded.
it will remain wooded.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, if there's no other comments, then I move to close the public hearing.
That would be great.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
All right, Madam Clerk, please read the notice for the second public hearing.
Public hearing number 2, to consider enacting Town Code Article 32 as it relates to the amortization of non-conforming sand mines that meet certain criteria within the town of Southampton.
Kathleen had presented this the first 2 times we've had the hearings on it, so this is a continuation of those 2 hearings. So I think today we were just adjourning to see if there's anybody else who wanted to talk on it before we closed it.
We do have some cards. The first is Day Dayton. And after Day, Bob DeLuca.
Send that to the clerk's
Okay,
office.
Sunday.
Sunday.
Sorry. Yes, please. Thank you.
Hi, sorry we're so late in responding. But, one of these mines happens to be in the Long Pond Greenbelt. I'm president of Friends of the Long Pond Greenbelt, so our board has written this letter. Friends of the Long Pond Greenbelt writes to fully support the proposed local law regarding the amortization of non-conforming sand mines. One of these mines operating as Sagaponic Sand and Gravel at 32 Haynes Path, Bridgehampton, which is zoned CR40 and in the Aquifer Protection Overlay District, and lies in the heart of the Long Pond Greenbelt, which is widely recognized as a unique environmental area, spectacular in its wealth of plant and animal life and sensitive ecological communities. We wish to highlight the important fact that all 3 parcels owned by Sagaponic Sand and Gravel at its Haynes Path facility are bordered on all sides by open space preserved by Southampton Town and Suffolk County. It's really situated in the heart of the Greenbelt. We believe that the proposal of these mines is a reasonable approach to ultimately remove industrial operations from sensitive areas such as the Long Pond Greenbelt, to better protect Southampton's drinking water reserves and restore our natural resources in the broadest interest of the public. The continued operation of intensive industrial uses, particularly in the unique Long Pond Greenbelt, runs contrary to decades of town planning, zoning, land use, and public investment decisions aimed at protecting our natural areas. We urge you to move forward with this initiative to help protect our precious water supply and the Long Pond Greenbelt. Thank you.
Thank you, Day.
thank you.
Bob DeLuca.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, members of the Town Board. My name is Bob DeLuca, and I serve as President of Group for the East End, and I am here to be mercifully brief. I just want to stipulate our support for the prior testimony that we've put in before you. I want to thank the board for the work and endurance it's taken to get us here. And just to remind the board that it's some 40 years ago that this issue first emerged in the town shortly after the Long Island landfill law was passed and people began looking at what the other holes in the ground were doing that were here. And it's taken quite some time through the zoning process and planning process, but here we are, and also the complications with sort of joint jurisdiction between DEC and the town. And at the end of the day, I think the town is taking the strong and right action here with respect to protection of the aquifer and protection of our community character. And we just thank you very much for the effort that it's taken to get us here. We look forward to your decision. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Lily Fell.
Hello Supervisor Moore and the council people, the town attorney. Thank you for listening to all of this. You have heard the science.
Oh, could you please state your name for the record?
Lily Fell
Oh,
from
Lily.
Sag Harbor, New York. And you have heard from Group for the East End, Noyak Civic Council, numerous people for years and years. And I'm asking you to help close the hearing tonight and realize that you have the health of people in your hands. And please remember that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for the cards. Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to be heard? No one on Zoom, okay. Okay.
Hello.
Hello, how
Hi.
are you?
Hi.
Did you want to speak?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
You're up.
Hi, everyone, this is Elena Loretto. I am the President Emeritus of the Noyak Civic Council. You know how long we have been working with you folks on getting this whole issue resolved. One more time, I will say this, and just try to get out of your way, that in roughly 10 years ago, we had very, very good monitoring of the water and the wells in the aquifer because of what we were seeing, which was the chemicals that were there, the hard metals, everything that was destroying our aquifer. So I'm asking you one more time, please, let's take care of this issue right away. We don't need more problems with the aquifer. This was going on before. The health department had been monitoring everything. We need you to continue. Please, do your best. The people of Noyak, the people of everywhere in our little tiny town and hamlet, we want our water safe. And you can do that for us. Thank you so much and have a lovely day. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Elaine. All right, Kevin, is there anybody else on Zoom? Okay. Well, we did get, a response from the Planning Commission that indicated it was a decision of local determination. And then we also received some comments from our planning board. And, yeah, the planning board had 3 comments. They recommended that they said they support the swift amortization of all nonconforming uses. They are concerned with the limitations of the amortization to only residential zoning districts. The proposed amortization of nonconforming sand mines should be in all zoning districts due to the impact on the groundwater. And they suggest that the town board utilize a funding source such as CPF funds to purchase nonconforming sand mines similar to previous town boards using funds to buy the nightclubs on Dune Road. This would allow for a quicker end to the non-conforming sand mines and protect the aquifer. And they adopted the above comments as their report to the town board after their meeting on February 13th.
I just want to make the comment that there aren't any other sand mines that would be included if we opened it up to all those other districts.
Yeah.
So,
I think they were just saying, why are you saying all residential in the aquifer protection overlay? But you're right, this covers all of them, so there's no need for the change. Although, Bill, you mentioned that there was something that you had considered.
Yes, we're talking to some of the people. I like in section 330-423, B, I would like to change within 60 days to 180 days, they have to have the paperwork in. Gives them more time, because it takes time to get the paperwork and the surveys done.
Yeah, so then the application to the zoning board, instead of requiring it in
60 days.
60 days,
It'd
now
be
it would
100,
be
180
6
days.
months, yeah. It does take a while to get surveys, and that doesn't change any of the other timing. Well, Jim, that seems like something that you wouldn't have to renotice just for that change, since it's allowing additional time for
Yeah, I
an
think it's
application.
giving you broader, it's more of a broader rule as opposed to a stricter rule, so I think you'd be okay with that.
Okay. So, with that change, what do you want to do?
I suggest that we close it. Close the hearing.
All right.
Then we have secret comment.
That's true. We do have to do the seeker. Janice is going to lead us in that. So, all right. So we'll move to close the public hearing.
Second?
Second.
You
second.
call that.
Yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for the patience.
All right, Madam Clerk, let's call the public hearings 3, 4, and 5, and 6. 5, 3, 4, and 5. That was 1.
For 5?
We'll do 6 separately.
Okay. Public hearing number 3, to enact new Article 7A entitled Energy Storage to Chapter 330 zoning of the Southampton Town Code. Public hearing number 4, to repeal and replace Section 330-162.21 of Chapter 330, Article 17 regarding battery energy storage systems within the town of Southampton. Public hearing number 5 for amendments to Chapter 123-39.3 entitled Battery Energy Storage Systems as it relates to building and electrical permit requirements.
Thank you. All right, Janice, would you please come up and just introduce these?
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, members of the board. I'm Janice Scherer, Town Planning and Development Administrator. So yes, you have before you, we've made some minor changes to the code that were outlined in red. We submitted them to the clerk. Those were just things that were discussed last meeting. In the meantime, we did receive a referral back from the planning board with some questions. Their meeting of, also the same meeting of the sand mine, they looked at this, and their comments, if you'd like me to go over them, said, they were asking about how did you get the 300-foot setback, the coastal evacuation routes were questioned, how do you know where they are? Further define opportunity sites listing municipally owned properties. They were asking, does that mean any municipality, like a village who owns a property within the town, which it would matter. Include provisions for continuing technological innovation. I think we did cover that. 5 said consider provisions that would incentivize commercial developments to incorporate battery systems. Consider provisions that would incentivize commercial developments to incorporate battery systems. So
this wasn't really their recommendations, this was the questions that they had that you're gonna now go back
it does
and
say the
answer?
planning board supports the proposed amendments with recommendation that you give the consideration to these items as you deliberate. And then they also supported the important role of a third-party peer review. So we do have some answers to some of these questions, but
Can you briefly give us the changes that were made since the last public hearing?
so when it came to, there's different sections, as you know, there's 3 different things going on at the same time. There's the overarching code is Article 7. That's like this renewable energy code. Then there's the special exception, like if you were qualified to apply for the special exception, which is limited to 5 megawatts in industrial zones only, you could go to the planning board. So there was Article 7, the special exception standards, and then we are calling Chapter 123, and those are really when it gets down to you've been through all the review, and now you're in a permit realm. You're at the building department, and they're looking at state building codes. So that section is related to that. So there's a bunch of, small amendments to the 123, just clearing up. Instead of aquifer protection, it says like protection of aquifer. There's no substantial difference in what it's saying. Instead of required retention pond, it's talking about the water retention system. So it's just some verbiage changes there. It had mentioned a peer review report conducted by NYSERDA, this Office of Technical Certification and Research Review. And so we then put in instead, peer review shall be required for all planned facilities to ensure compliance and oversight. The town board or planning board may issue a rolling request for qualification solicitation for firms qualified to conduct peer reviews to establish a list, or may use a list provided by NYSERDA or other qualified entity. So in other words, we think it's proactive to identify who these peer review people even are and their specialties and qualifications, and set up like lines of communications with these entities so that we can refer things to them, and we're not just like cold calling people when we have an actual application. We don't want that. We want to set all this up before we even begin.
And that's paid for by the applicant, but selected
Yes.
by the town.
Correct. So we changed that. And then there was a section J5, and I'm still in 123 here. It says all applications over 10 shall include, and we took out over 10 and just said up to a maximum of 19, which, as you know, includes that zone change section. Then in that overarching code, Article 7A, there was some general requirements in 330:38.6. And we were talking initially about this certificate of fitness that is issued by the Fire Department of New York, FDNY. And NYSERDA and LIPA had gotten in touch to say, like, it didn't really make sense for us, the town, to require something that the city requires. We should just decide like what we're gonna can't rely on the city of FDNY to tell us if somebody's okay. You know what I mean? We have to stay in our own jurisdiction, basically. So we changed that to say applicants shall provide credentials that demonstrate that legal entities involved in commissioning, operating, maintaining, and decommissioning of the best facility possess the requisite financial ability to complete the contract, accountability, reliability, skill, sufficiency of capital resources, judgment, integrity, and moral worth to be determined as a matter of fact on a case-by-case basis. So this is actually verbiage right out of like state Office of General Services, like how you retain like qualified persons to, so this comes from OGS, this type of language. And then it says proof may include, but is not limited to, current licenses, certificates of fitness, which is still included, but there's other things. Inclusion on New York State compiled lists of qualified entities for commercial and industrial best facilities, and or a track record of the successful commissioning of similar best facilities. So in other words, you see this cannabis thing happening and everyone's jumping on the bandwagon and everyone's doing this and that. Like, this is a totally different animal. This is something where you need to be qualified and have the kinds of people that are engaged in understanding what these facilities are all about, and have commissioned them, decommission them, and have all the insurances and things that you need to do this. So that's what this is about. So it's not just like a fly-by-night type of entity can come here and start saying they're gonna put in batteries, so we're not doing that. We're just making sure that we're selecting persons that are qualified to do so. So that was the 123 changes. Is there, and the 330-38, I'm sorry. There was no others, right? So that's the 162.
You actually briefly touched on this. There were two others on 330-38, some clarifications at the end of the page.
Oh, the avoidance areas, 38.6D. We initially had within 500 feet of a designated coastal evacuation. We now we have within 500 feet of the right of way of a designated coastal. So we were in the right of way, which gives you an extra setback actually. And avoidance areas, we just fixed that language a little better. So it says now parcels within 300 feet of an occupied community building, single family residence and or any residential district as measured property line to property line. So that was that question last time we heard from a number of people in the community that were concerned about it sharing a property line, and we tried to make that more clear. So those are the changes now. And as you know, we handed out last time the use tables, which is clearly an X in all residential zones, and it will only be permitted in LI zones. So that was an important use table change. Yeah, so we're publishing all those like kind of companion things to clean up the code. So when you're referencing something, when you're over there, it matches. So there's usually this happens when you have lots of pieces of code to fix. So we'll have a couple of new ones. Like one of them is you said you wanted to designate it as a type 1 action. We said that here, but we have to actually find that in chapter 157 and put it in there. So there's a lot of this like cross-referencing that we're now doing.
It's like how we're still removing PDD from
sections
of code.
Exactly.
So that's why we have this walk-on.
Yeah, so we have that walk-on, and we have a couple of other ones that we're going to put in for like the residential table of uses, like I said, X across the board, the LI table of uses, SE for anything small scale, like for maybe you're an industrial, like you have an office or something, and you have a small battery, that would be P. But if you're like really doing this and it's up to 5 megawatts or whatever, that's SE on those use tables. And then the business use tables also is the same way. Like if you're a supermarket, you could put a small battery, but you still have these special exception criteria that you have to meet.
What about the question that Tip Rowland asked about the kilowatt versus kilowatt hours? Was that something that we had to correct?
I believe that if it's under 1 megawatt, that the standard reference is kilowatt hours. Is that true?
Yes.
I can have Seth speak to that. Seth Reese.
Seth Reese, Planning Division. We base the code on the framework that's available, the Federal Emergency Energy Research Organization. They use kilowatt hours under 1 megawatt, and then they branch out into just megawatts when they go above 1 megawatt. So we were really just mirroring the way that it's written in the other framework documents, and not trying to create a new system, but incorporate what is the other standards and codes are stating. So that is the reasoning behind it. I understand Tip's point to energy and power. We will we can put something in the definitions which would help to clarify that difference for individuals using the code. Otherwise, it really, if we changed it, then it would be.
We're using the standards basically that manufacturers would reference
exactly.
as well.
Yeah, these are the standards that are created throughout most of the other documents that govern best facilities.
Yeah.
That's the reasoning, at least.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So we didn't receive any comments yet from the Planning Commission?
That's correct. I'm on their agenda for their first meeting in March.
Okay. And then we did receive from the planning board.
The
Did
planning
they say
board.
something about the coastal evacuation routes? Didn't
They
have a
were just
question
sort of
about that?
asking like, how do you even know what those are? And those are designated by the entities like the county and the state, in their hazard mitigation plans. So those, you'll see when you drive around, you
Yeah,
see a
they
little sign that
exist.
says coastal evacuation route.
Mhm.
The county designates those mostly. But, I mean, in
But
our
that is
case, there's
built
two
into-
roads. We have County Road 39 and we have Montauk Highway. Like,
Yeah.
you know, unless you're on a boat, you're not getting out
But
any
that
other
was-
way.
But that was built into our restrictions, right? The coastal evacuation.
We're trying to say not within 500 feet of the right of way of that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And any other questions we're happy to answer. The other thing was.
Oh, I had a question,
Sure.
sorry. The thing about the municipal properties, I don't know if it says municipally owned properties or municipal yards, but I was watching the planning board meeting, and they were questioning whether that is also subject to the restrictions of the 300 feet. Or is that
Yes.
something that we can just, it
You
wouldn't
know,
be-
we usually leave leeway when it comes to public property because there's an inherent idea that if there's a public need and a public reason to do it, you have the ability to do that because it's on behalf of the public as a whole. So we don't, but we can clearly, you would still, in the case of a municipally owned property, say it's another entity, like another municipality, a village, owns a piece of property in the town, and they want to put a BES on it, you could decide they can't do that. It says subject to approval by the town board. So
Or
you-
if it's a town property, like, anything that we
if
own.
it's like a
we-
transfer station
yeah.
and you're adjacent to a residential property line, you just would simply say no, it's not going there. It's not, you're not prohibiting yourself from looking at it, but you can if you want, or future boards.
Okay. Well, I don't have any other questions. Anything else? Let's see.
I mean, honestly, for right now, I would feel more comfortable limiting those properties as well, just as of right with the technology as it exists in the code, the way we wrote it. I wouldn't feel comfortable leaving like a loophole open to a municipality coming in on their property, and they can change the code if they need to,
I kind of
No,
agree
you
with
mean
Cindy.
another town board here?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah, I think
I would
the-
like it to be, I would like this to adhere to all properties.
I think the community would feel more comfortable too if we just
So
had
a
the restrictions
municipally owned
applied.
property is not an opportunity site in your mind to put maybe battery storage.
Not if it doesn't meet all these other.
Can it be contingent on meeting all the other specific criteria?
Well, yeah, that's what
So
we're saying. We're
long
saying if
as-
it's within 300 feet of a residential property, then it would
Then
be.
it won't,
no.
right.
So
You want to
why
live by
not
the same
say,
rules as everybody else.
so long as all
Other
criteria are met?
That's great.
And now,
Okay.
the other opportunity sites, municipally owned properties, sand mines, and is there anything else?
Yes. Hold on, I'm sorry. Light industrial, that's their opportunity to be there. Pre-existing sand mines, municipally owned properties that are, meeting the criteria. Designated brownfields and existing community distributed generation sites, meaning like you may have a solar site and want to add a battery storage component to it, and it's on a municipal property, most likely. But if there's more opportunity sites or you want less, right now there's 5.
I just think that we're a little concerned about saying that the opportunity sites don't have to comply with the restrictions at this point.
It doesn't. It says the town board may elect to consider a renewable energy overlay in the following locations. You may elect to not consider it. So no
Based on the
one's
other criteria.
pushing you in, it's just you may elect to consider it in these circumstances. You could look at it and be like, no,
And I mean, that's
we
the
don't want
whole,
it.
that's the whole, I think, key here is all of these that are larger are treated as basically a change of zone. Like,
Yeah.
you have to go through the whole process. We have to even elect to consider it with
Right.
input from the public and everything else. It's not like an application is just gonna come in and show up on the planning board agenda and go through the process.
Exactly.
But why are we carving out of that the municipally owned properties and not the
Well, usually, I mean,
Other
typically you're acting on behalf of the greater good of the public when you are using a piece of property owned by the public that the public may want it there. But you're assuming the public doesn't want it there and it's not in the public good, then you would not elect to consider it. And, you know, you have the option. In some cases, it may be great, but right now, because we're in the beginning of all this and it's still uncertain and it still doesn't feel right, maybe it doesn't seem like a good idea. But let's say there's these great new batteries in 10 years that are no problem and you want to put them on a municipally owned property. You're saying you don't know that you want to do that. You get that choice here. If you take it out entirely, it's just not on the table. But you as a board are always acting in the public.
Yeah, but I'm not saying, I thought we just agreed, we're not gonna, take it out, but we were gonna condition it. And
It is.
What
I
I'm
have
saying
that.
is, why would we condition that one and not the other opportunity sites?
So here's what it
What's
says.
the
The minimum
distinction?
size. The site shall be sufficient size and shape to provide the buffers. The minimum site for the energy overlay has to be 5 acres, and in any case, the site shall be of such shape, dimension, topography, and location as will allow for proper setback screening and a harmonious relationship with adjoining land uses and the natural physical terrain. And then so that's like your overarching kind of look, and then it goes down to like, okay, where within all the parcels in this town are you even able to look at this? And it says light industrial, pre-existing sand mines, municipally owned properties, designated brownfield. So you're saying, why are we only putting the caveat on that and not all of them?
Yeah,
And it just says,
because the brownfield might be right next to a residential property.
so
But then we would
instead
move
of
it out.
adding it to the
But why are
each,
you
we
saying
could just
change
say
it for the municipally
in the
owned, but not for the
beginning,
brownfields, I'm not
the
sure.
town board may
Follow.
elect to consider a renewable energy overlay in the following locations, subject to consistency with all requirements.
That
Yep.
sounds better.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Because that
Okay.
encapsulates all of
Then
them.
it's all of them.
Yep.
Okay. We could do that. Okay.
Although, that's taking the sand mines out too, right?
They have to meet all the other requirements, just
But
like
if-
any other property.
Yeah. Although, I think we were
It's not-
thinking that the sand mines were safer because they're down in the underground.
But it's not
below
taking-
ground.
It's not taking it out though. It's just adding the parameters.
Yeah,
Right.
so you couldn't put it in a sand mine if it's about a residential property.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take a look at that because I don't want to put it, Yeah, we have some time to make sure that's right.
Okay.
But the goal here is somewhere in here you want to make sure that it's clear that
They all
just
meet.
because you're a municipally owned property doesn't mean that you
You
don't
get a
have to
free
comply
pass.
with all the criteria.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right, that's what you're trying to say.
I mean, typically you do, unless you can really show, it used to be proprietary versus governmental. If you were using strictly for governmental, that you didn't have to comply with the zoning necessary. You had to do secret, and then the town of Orangeburg case kind of made it more of a balancing test. You had to show why you felt that this is an important use for that site. So.
And as we said, this is given current technology. As technology changes, future boards can revisit this code and, maybe there's a great safety track record at that point and everyone
Right.
feels comfortable with it.
Yeah.
We don't know how everyone's gonna
Yeah.
feel in several years, so I mean,
And that's the beauty of keeping it small.
Could be a whole
because
different
then
world in 5
anything
years.
Related is small, right? We're not making some big facility to be, there's hopefully no surprises with it, so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Don't go too far, we've got a lot of cards here. All right, so the first speaker is Laura Zubalaki. And then Emily Dwyer.
Good evening, and thank you once again for the opportunity to speak. I'm Laura Zubalake.
Zubalak, thank you.
It's quite all right. Quite frankly, I'm speechless after hearing what I just heard. As I spoke the last time, I am vehemently against this in the town of Southampton. I read the proposals from the last meeting, and as I've informed you, I've been very open about my discussions with the federal government, state government, county government, and you all. I cop you all on everything. Basically, those amendments, I went through them line by line, and I found them deficient on many levels. And basically what I just heard is pretty astonishing. One of my main points has always been we are isolated, and you even admit this in your proposal. You say relatively isolated. I think the speaker just said, and I may be wrong, you can correct me, 2 exits. Really, it's 39 is the main exit. Montauk Highway is for part of the town, not the entire town, if you can get there. And then she said, if you happen to have a boat, you'll be lucky to get out. It is egregious that the town is contemplating a technology that you have just admitted is not safe, not where it should be. And well, you said that in 7 to 10 years it might be safer, it might be a better, and which I'm not going to debate that. But at this point, why don't you wait? The current technology is not safe. There's press all over, and I can share everything that I've collected. It is potentially a dangerous technology. If you recall decades ago, and I know this is apples to oranges to a certain degree, Suffolk County rejected nuclear power plants. Why? In part, or the major reason was there was not enough evacuation routes, okay? Same thing applies here. And I'm not talking about the entire New York State. The North and South Fork are very isolated. You get some sort of vendor or operator who doesn't carry through their job, doesn't do the 24/7 maintenance, slips up somewhere along the line, you could have a really serious situation. And if it's along 39, if it's along the LIRR, along the canal, we potentially could be trapped.
30 seconds.
I don't know if people understand that water does not extinguish best. It cools it. Once water is added, the chemicals leave that could affect our aquifer, which goes into the other discussion that the woman mentioned before. These fires are meant to burn out. I suggest you talk to firemen about their experiences with EVs. These fumes can travel 30 to 100 miles depending on winds. If you get rain, it brings it down to the soil, the farms, your swimming pools.
3 minutes.
Why are we doing this now? Why don't we wait for a safer technology? Let somebody else be the guinea pig and not us. I just don't, I'm sorry, did I exceed? I'm sorry, I apologize.
Thank you for your comments. All right, Emily Dwyer and then John Lynch.
Good evening. My name is Emily Dwyer. I'm the Director of Government and Community Relations.
Excuse me.
My name is Emily Dwyer. I'm the Director of Government and Community Relations for Edgewise Energy. We're a clean energy developer based right here on Long Island. I'm from Suffolk County, and so is our organization, and we've been here, our whole lives and share the deep values and roots in the community. As Long Island is our home, safety and well-being of our neighbors is our top priority. We have already developed clean and safe fuel cell projects on Long Island that have saved over $2.5 million for customers to date and continue to reduce emissions while providing grid stability. With our grid expanding to include more intermittent energy sources like wind and solar, BESS are a necessity for grid reliability. With ever-increasing storms from climate change and severe weather events, power outages like we've experienced during Superstorm Sandy pose a risk now more than ever. I want to commend the board on their detailed work that they have done to create this updated BESS code. It's definitely no small task to balance many different viewpoints and input, and I do come from a government background, so I understand that. However, as a clean energy developer, we do want to point out the highly restrictive nature of this new code. We understand that safety is a top priority, but restricting BESS development in Tier 2 to LI 40 and LI 200 zones and excluding business districts greatly limits the ability for Southampton's clean energy grid to be invested in. These zones are very isolated and not in ideal locations for interconnection. The fire code established by the New York State Interagency Working Group and even the more stringent code proposed by Southampton Town will be keeping our communities safe, even if the allowable development zones are expanded. We understand concerns of public safety surrounding BESS, especially after incidents like Moss Landing fire that recently occurred in California. A lot has already changed in BESS technology since those units were deployed back in 2019. New York has the strongest fire safety laws in the country, and our technology requirements ensure that these batteries are incredibly safe, including new fire suppression and prevention systems. These batteries can replace harmful peaker plants that pollute our air, water, soil, and cause many health issues. Batteries, on the other hand, produce no harmful emissions and greatly reduce carbon. Our team at Edgewise is always available to meet with community members who have concerns. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
John Lynch, and after John, Gail Lombardi.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, Board. My name is John Lynch. I'm a local attorney. I was very interested in hearing what Director Shearer indicated about the statute. I am a little concerned, and I think there was a point about certain areas being called opportunity sites, particularly municipal properties. Because when you look at the 5 opportunity sites that are set forth in the statute, indicate light industrial zones, pre-existing sand mines, municipal-owned properties, number 3, designated brownfields, and existing community distribution generation sites. And I think of the 5, 4 of them are based on the opportunity areas, based on the nature of that property, what it was being used for. You know, if it was light industrial, sand mines, brownfields, even junkyards. I mean, those are places where, yes, they could be opportunity sites. I can see for a battery electronic storage system if it meets the other requirements. Again, being 300 feet away from property lines of residential properties. But there doesn't seem to be any reason about municipally owned properties because it has nothing to do with what the property itself. It's just based on who owns the property. And I think there's a constitutional question with that. If you distinguish or discriminate based on who the owner of the property is, then that's a problem. So I think, I don't think municipal owned property should be considered an opportunity site at all. I think there's a problem with that. Or at least there should be maybe some restriction or some definition within the statute to distinguish between publicly, the property that's been owned for a public use, or property that's just owned for proprietary use. So there was a question about these municipal properties. If a village owns a municipal property outside the village, but in the town, can that property be used as considered municipal property to allow a BES? There's a situation that I'm dealing with, of course, at 172 South Country Road in Queog, where the village of West Hampton Beach owns a parcel outside the village, but inside the town of Southampton. And part of what they're looking to do is to have a solar facility built there, but also to have a BES installed there as well, which is within that lease on it. And I think there is a problem with that. We're saying, well, because it's municipal property, they can do that. So let's say if this property was owned by Erie, Pennsylvania owns a piece of property that they got inherited, whatever, they own in the town of Southampton, would that be a property that could be
30
allowed
seconds.
to be municipal property and opportunity zone under the statute if it meets the other requirements? I think if you're doing it just based on who owns the property, you've got a constitutional problem, and the statute can be challenged on that basis on that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gail Lombardi and then Bridget Marr.
Hey, Gail.
Hey, guys. Thank you again for the privilege, and thank you for all the time you've invested in Janice Shearer's hard work and all this. I want to echo John's comments, John Lynch's comments, and I want to plagiarize Bob DeLucas because I always like what Bob has to say. So that kind of fits into this. It's been a long journey, and I do want to echo John's. I'm not used to government time, everything takes so long. And I don't understand why you can't have a resolution to repeal the current law, separate and distinct from putting a new law, and repeal the current zoning. The moratorium based on the next public hearing is already expired, February 13th. So I don't understand why you don't have a resolution on today's agenda to repeal the current law, so there's no confusion. And take your time and dotting the i's and crossing the t's on the legislation. And I agree that as Hampton Bays has a lot of government facilities, I agree with John, and I agree with the fact that, and we didn't talk ahead of time, and Supervisor Moore, the restrictions should be on all those properties. And, having a town-owned property, the senior center, I'm making it up, but something like that now could be a BES facility. That's absurd, but there's been a lot of absurd things that have happened around this town board. So I'm not sure about that. But other than that, I'm hoping that you could bifurcate the resolutions, repeal the current zoning, and finish working on the dotting the i's and crossing the t's, and keeping with the legislative intent, right? Protection of the citizens, first and foremost, all the things in the legislative intent to make sure the legislation actually really matches the legislative intent. So I'm really looking forward to putting this all to bed very soon. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then Bridget, Mark.
Hello, I'm back again. Bridget Marr, Hampton Bays. It seems like we're all at different points in this whole thing. I'm here to say thank you again, because I think we've made tremendous progress. I know there are people that are maybe just getting into it, and the anger and frustration that they're feeling, I understand it, but I think what you've come up with is a solution that many of us can live with for the time being. I know there's people here saying we need to go forward with battery storage. I think we all got the picture that we didn't know what we were doing initially. Everybody can agree to that. Nobody really clearly understood what this meant. And I think what you've done here is you really were digging in deep, and you've come up with some solutions. They're not going to please everybody. What I've also like to mention is, and I don't know how this gets resolved, but I think bringing up Tip Brolin as an example, he made comments that we wanted to see incorporated, and I think, Seth, you kind of answered that. But there are other people that are still looking to tweak, and you're still tweaking. I mean, I hear it in these discussions. I think you received an email from Rome Arnold, and some of his concerns are legit. They may be incorporated in sort of general terms. He was very specific about nailing down who these developers are and where they're originating from, and can they just abandon. So the question I have, and I don't know if you can answer it, is this eternally tweaked? When does it end? We're doing another moratorium extension. So there's got to be closure somewhere, and there's got to be a point where we say, this is what we're going to live with for now. And as you've said many times, this may change. It may change for the better. It may change for the worse. We don't know. If things improve, yes, we may go forward with different solutions. But I guess the question is, for now, we need to close the door on what we're talking about at this point, I think. But I don't know when the tweaking stops. That's really my biggest concern.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would just say, Bridget, and you can I mean, I think that what you're seeing with the tweaking is this board's openness to listening to comments, hearing what everybody on all sides has to say, and really working with planning to try their very best to incorporate all of those different comments into the code.
And I think we're at a point now where we're starting to hear the same comments and not really anything, new or, nothing that we can't change at a later date. So I think really, I'm comfortable with where we're at, and, we'll hear whatever everyone has to say tonight, and we'll, maybe make a few more changes, and then I believe we'll put it on for, adoption. I'm comfortable doing that, but we still have to hear back from the Suffolk County Planning Commission.
Yeah.
And as to the question of why we're still going forward with a moratorium, it's because, you don't want to leave the door open for somebody to come in and slap down an application when you're this close to the finish line. And, we would have loved to have had this done before the last moratorium expired, but we also didn't want to rush it at that point in time. We wanted to have 2 public hearings at the minimum and get more comment and really go over the code, and even ourselves make some tweaks as was mentioned. So, I think we're
Very close.
very close.
Yeah. Well, that's all the cards I have now. Is anybody on Zoom, Kevin, that wishes to speak at this public hearing, or any of these 3 public hearings, 3, 4, and 5? Well, then you've got something on for a public hearing related to this scheduled for the 25th. So I would say, why don't we close these public hearings but leave a written comment period open until March 25th. Okay. Is that, everybody's good with that? Yeah.
Good.
I'll second it.
Okay.
do you wanna keep it open until the 25th, or do you wanna keep it open for like the
Agency
comments from
comments?
the agencies, the Suffolk County Planning Commission? And then you can just reschedule it for the 25th if you're ready to move on it that day. It's up to you.
The latter, yeah.
So then you would leave the written record open for like 2 weeks, or until such time as Suffolk County Planning Commission has submitted their comments.
But no later than the 25th.
So only agency comments and not public comments? Or any
Yeah, I think we've had the opportunity to have sufficient input.
Is it
All
public
right.
comments?
Agency comments.
Agency comments for 2 weeks?
Does that give you enough time, Jen?
I think it's March 4th or 5th.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, then you're fine.
2 weeks?
Yes. Okay. I'll second that.
What if they don't come in within the 2 weeks from the planning commission?
You don't have to put a time frame on it, you just say open, close with.
Subject to the agency comment.
But we'll still receive agency comments.
Okay, let's do it that way then, in case they're a day over. All right, and Cindy, you
I'll
seconded
second
that?
it, yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
So
thank you.
that's indefinite until,
Yeah.
is there, there's an end,
We're
is
leaving
there
it
an end time
open
to this? Is
for
it
agency comments, the
county?
planning commission,
So,
yes.
well, the
Suffolk
only
County.
agency comments we're waiting for is the county planning
County,
commission.
okay.
After that, we'll be able to move forward with secra and then a notice of adoption with the tweaks.
Okay.
But the tweaks, the code will have to be in final form on your desk 10 days prior to any adoption.
Mhm.
So it's in final form and the clerk will have that as well.
Thank you. All right, would you please read the?
We have to close them all separately.
Oh, we knew that, and I
That's okay.
just meant to do
Yeah,
it. Okay, so, I move to, I wanted to say this right, close the public hearing number 3, leaving, the record open for written agency comments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and I move to close public hearing number 4, leaving the written record open for agency comments.
Same second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And move to close public hearing number 5 and leave the record open for agency comments.
Same second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Now, would you please read the notice of public hearing for the 6th?
Certainly. Public hearing number 6, to extend the moratorium on battery energy storage systems for 3 months.
Good evening again, Supervisor, members of the board. Before you for your consideration is an amendment to the battery energy storage moratorium to continue it, as we discussed, for another 3 months while we adopt the new legislation. And here are several of the companion laws that will be coming through and respond to the public comments. It's fairly self-explanatory, but such extension would expire by its own terms on May 27th, 2025.
So I have a question. If we adopt the new code on the second meeting in March, would we need to even adopt this?
At that point, I would, if the other companion laws have also, if they're all scheduled to be adopted, no, then you wouldn't need to at that point. If you do go ahead and adopt this because they're not ready at that point and say the first meeting in April, then, and all the other codes are adopted, you would then notice to not, you would have to repeal this.
Okay.
So it really is a matter of timing. We're just trying to.
It's like a safety net.
Yeah.
Belt and suspenders.
Yeah.
What's the date that it's expiring?
May 27th.
No, but now.
The 13th.
It was February
expired.
13th? Yeah, so.
But this will extend it to the 27th of May, should we need it. And you still need the agency comments as you did with the others too, so I would recommend if you were gonna close this, that you close it and leave the record open for agency comments as well.
Okay. I mean, I understand what Gail's saying, you know, like right now, there's this period of time when there is no moratorium and the code is still on the books, but it's gonna be.
It's a
such
practical
brief
matter,
period.
it's not something that we're
And if
concerned
something,
with.
we got some comments back that were, we could have more time if we needed it. Otherwise, we start this process all over again.
Yeah, I mean, if an application came in tomorrow, we wouldn't have to.
It would have to be complete, there's an entire process that has to happen, just in terms of a practicality, it's very unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is-
Okay.
This is a lot safer.
All right, thank you. Gail, did you want to, I know you have a card, so on this.
I just want to keep asking this child.
I know, it's so precious, so quiet too.
The cutest little thing. No, I think my questions were answered. So when I looked at the legislative intent, and again, I just want to get on the record. I support it to the extent that it's solely for this tweaking, and not opening the books again, as Bridget said. I mean, it's just these kind of small cleaning up. I am, it did expire on the 13th, and so I don't understand, again, why 2-3 months ago you knew your time frame, you didn't get in place, and why you can't bifurcate, the two different things, why you just can't have a resolution next month, next meeting, just to repeal the law for now and just get it off the books and then put the new law into place. So again, again, the primary thing has always been the well-being of the people, historic nature of our communities, protecting the well-being of our waters. And as long as the legislative intent is very clear and all the wording is as clear as that, I really am thankful that we're this far. And hopefully Bridget and I could stop coming to these meetings. That would be really helpful. And Mr. Chris Finelli too. I'm really happy. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom for the 6th public hearing? All right, if nobody has any other comments about that, then I move to close the 6th public hearing.
Second.
Leave it open for
Oh,
agency.
and leave it open for agency comments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, thank you, everyone. Madam Clerk, would you please read the
Certainly.
notice for the 7th public hearing?
Public hearing number 7 for a local law amending section 123-21 of the Southampton Town Code entitled Penalties for Offenses in order to increase minimum penalties for violating a stop work order.
Thank you, Janice and Seth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Supervisor Moore, members of the town board, Assistant Town Attorney Sean Cambridge. It may make sense to actually open number 8 as well. They're very similar in nature.
Okay, let's do that.
Public hearing number 8 for a local law amending section 229-9 of the Southampton Town Code entitled Penalties for Offenses, Additional Remedies, in order to set a minimum fine for conviction of violating a stop order issued by the Natural Resource Director.
Thank you. Could you tell us, when you're talking about it, the distinction between a stop order and a stop work order?
So what we're here for tonight are to amend the minimum fines for a stop work order, which is generally related to a building, and a stop order, which is specifically related to natural resources. That pertains to things like grading, clearing trees, altering natural drainage, things like that. Both of these public hearing topics have moved together for the better part of a year. We've been talking about this. And there's a reason for that. So today is for a minimum fine, which seems kind of a benign public hearing, and okay, so what, the minimum's raised. Not so what. This has been a long-term goal, long-term legislation. Each of you have ushered in a step of it at some point, some point of this project. And what we've done here is we're looking to change the perception of the stop work order. So we started at a place where there was no minimum fine. It was 0. Stop work order was a sticker that got stuck up on your property while you're working. There was really no communication, and we went and changed all that. So now we started with communication with all of our enforcement divisions, the building department, code enforcement, the fire marshal, the town attorney investigator. We have lots and lots of folks who can put these orders up and monitor these situations. So we've created a DG email system, meaning the whole department gets notified every single time a stop work order is posted. We've created procedures for where these stop work orders are posted, how they're posted, why they're posted, and that charges will be issued each and every single time they're posted on a site. So that wasn't easy. That was a couple of code changes ago. We've all been doing this together. For those of you watching at home, this is a long-term project, like I said. So we've first expanded the pool of enforcement agents that can go out and post stop work orders as well as write against stop work orders. We've also changed the perception of what it means. So where we started, oh, it's just a sticker, not the case anymore. Now it's a sticker. That's the ultimate line in the sand. That's your last interaction with the town for now. You are to stop. You are going to court. There is no negotiation at that point. It's you do what we say, otherwise you are prosecuted.
And that's how it exists now.
That's how it exists now. So this is a tool for us, for our enforcement division. This is the long stick. We need to show there's a consequence. And this legislation would promote a $750 fine per day. That adds up pretty quickly. That's no longer cost of doing business. You know, I don't care what your budget is. No one can afford $750 every single day of their lives as their project goes on. And it's as simple as, you know, we have all these folks out on patrols, many in marked vehicles. So we have fire marshals responding to various locations in the town. We have building inspectors responding to job sites. We have code enforcement officers driving their routes. And we have the town attorney investigator in an unmarked vehicle doing his routes. So, you know, it's been an effective tool because now you don't know who is watching you as you're working while your stop work order is posted. Additionally, the judges are getting used to seeing these. So this is something that they never really encountered in court. Now it's a routine thing. Now they know this other charge was issued and a stop work order was issued. They have that in the discovery packet. So you'll see the reason. You know, it's no building permit or you know, no public assembly permit or things like that. So they can justify and they know the reasoning behind that issuance. Further, when there's a violation of a stop work order, now it's very apparent to a court, to folks in the neighborhood, this person already is not listening to the town. That's a very different implication. When that's a standalone charge, we know something is wrong. You've had to now elevate from notice of violation to summons to stop work order to violation of stop work order. Not a good procedural pattern for anybody. So it makes the town's intent very, very clear. We are telling you to stop. We are looking for fines. We are looking for enforcement. So this is a tool that's extremely important. This is really the last step. As I said, we have lots of enforcement folks. You know, Brian Murphy himself has enforced on several of these. Marty Culloden, the town attorney's investigator, has caught many of these. Your building inspectors, your code enforcement staff. This is now a robust enforcement initiative.
And really, Sean, this has really come about after receiving many requests and comments from a lot of our community groups, a lot of our civic associations, our CACs that would like to see the town have more bite to it. Why was I hearing that the minimum violations were $150? I know we're saying that they were zero, but because there's judicial deference here. But
so most cases are actually resolved with conviction in the town of Southampton. We don't dismiss very many cases at all. So many cases are plea bargain, and without a range, a judge is free to really find somebody whatever they want. This makes very clear the intent of the town board. We want a minimum 750, max 1,000, which is set by the New York State Town Law.
One other question that I had for you, Sean, and by the way, thank you for all your work and your coordination with Ryan, with Janice, and with all of our various parties on this. One of the things that we've been asked is how are we allowing developers who may have a stop work order against them to then apply for another application? One of the requests that have come into us is, can we hold them back if they have existing stop work orders? And
So-
the answer is no, right? And I just want you to be able to
Partially.
Okay, if you
Partially
can explain
no,
that.
yes. So a developer implies you may own more than one property, right? You're someone who does this professionally. So if we own houses 1, 2, and 3 on the block, I can't hold up permits on 2 and 3 if there's a stop work order on number 1. But you're also not getting any further permits on house number 1 once you have a stop work order in place. So we're treating each lot individually. That's how we have to treat each lot. We certainly can't hold back permits for unrelated parcels, but this message is very clear. It also brings eyes to that neighborhood. So now all those folks that we've worked with early on in this, the folks in civics, people in the neighborhood groups, community watch groups, They all know what this is now. This is a giant yellow sticker that gets posted on the front of somebody's house. This is about as apparent as we can be. So you have lots of eyes. Those houses 2 and 3, maybe they're getting looked at for violations now when they weren't before. As someone's going to check daily on the property with the stop work order. So this is a great enforcement tool. Nothing's perfect, but we do have to follow, obviously, town law and respect people's constitutional rights.
Thank you, Sean. Sorry, I had one last question. My apologies to my colleagues. One of the other questions that came to us was, why can't we, instead of raising the minimums, why can't we raise the maximums? And that has to do with New York State municipal law?
New York State town law prescribes that we can collect $1,000 a day on these types of things. So we're bound by state law, we're preempted.
It also becomes a criminal charge at a certain fine
Right.
amount.
At certain thresholds, criminal collateral consequences are triggered. So we don't want to be in a spot where someone's successfully alleging a malicious prosecution based on an impact that they otherwise wouldn't suffer for something that's a violation or an unclassified misdemeanor.
Well, this certainly gives it more teeth.
It does.
Yes.
So that's good.
We don't know how many stop work orders were issued last year.
I don't. I know since we've begun this initiative, these are daily throughout the town. These are things that we really amped up the efforts on.
That's good.
So we could try to collect that data at a point in the future. It's really been this board throughout this year ushering this initiative through. So we're pretty young in this enforcement initiative to collect data.
And other towns are moving in this direction too.
Many.
Yeah.
And also the code office and the bone department wanted this too.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody supported this.
Yeah, I mean, follow the rules.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, well,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your work.
I have one card, Gail Lombardi. Time to check on the baby again.
I just, Michael had explained that this was on the agenda today, and I personally support it. Not the details, I haven't looked at all the details, but going back 10 years ago when we were involved in the Bel Air, one of the biggest issues was that they never were fined. I mean, they received notice of violations over and over and over again, and I know Mr. Burke's, and Jay Schneiderman's issues were we really want to get them into compliance, but they were never going to comply. Let's be realistic. They were incapable of complying because they were running an illegal rooming house, and they couldn't bring that place up to code. So, it's important that there is teeth in, the notice of violations as well as the stop work orders. So to the extent that this board can help the people that do follow the rules not be living next to somebody who's not following the rules, extending all of that, including like notice of violations, that would be really helpful, because I think most people in like Hampton Bays, we follow the rules, and then you're next door to somebody who's not. So I'm thankful for this. Thank you, Michael, and whoever initiated this, Janice or whoever else did it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, we mean business. And thank you, Michael, for your work on this. All right,
to all of you.
Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to be heard? All right, let's hear it.
Hi, can you hear me?
We don't hear you.
Can you hear me
There
now?
you are. Yes, hi.
Okay, because I think it's on. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hi, I'm Meredith Berkowitz, and I'm a secretary and director of the Bridgehampton Civic Association, and I am here tonight to speak on behalf of the Bridgehampton Civic Association. First, I would like to thank the town board, and in particular, Michael Iacilli and Ryan Murphy for proposing these changes to the code. On behalf of the Bridgehampton Civic Association, we fully support these proposed changes and are delighted that they are before you tonight for consideration for adoption. Having watched the related work session and some of the discussion this evening, we do have a few follow-up questions, especially when it comes to the serial and repeat offenders. I'm not sure why, if parcels are beneficially owned, why that would be considered an unrelated parcel, and necessarily there couldn't be this idea that someone who is a repeat or serial offender could not necessarily have their applications held up. Shouldn't that be a facts and circumstances test? And also, what about a repeat offender who gets a stop order, resolves it, and then repeats with a similar or additional violation on that property? Why are they able to, continue to make applications and get variances and get permits when they've engaged in that sort of repeat pattern of behavior? As the prior speaker said, wouldn't it be, aren't we concerned about people who rack up these repeat violations? And would it be helpful to have a more fulsome, rather than just accepting it on its face value, to have a more fulsome legal explanation or opinion of why this is not possible? With regard to fines being greater than $1,000, I understand that that would possibly make it a criminal violation or a felony violation and no longer subject to local jurisdiction. However, the town board did approve increases in the fines for violating the occupancy provisions of the code to well over $1,000, and that was done just recently. So I'm just wondering again, we are at the Civic Association, why it was possible to do that for violations of the occupancy provisions, but not possible for these types of code violations or stop work orders. And then lastly, but not least, at the work session, I thought I heard Sean say that code enforcement had been advised to only issue fines where there was an imminent threat of injury to property or person. And the example given was not wanting to cite someone who might be just, putting up an illegal or issuing a stop order for someone who's putting up an illegal deck. And we were wondering why that was. It would be helpful for us to know if this policy could be clarified and, is it a question of manpower or something else? And where there is in fact a threat of injury to either property or person, what good
30
is the fine?
seconds.
Sorry.
You have 30
At
seconds
that
left.
point, shouldn't it be an immediate, stoppage and felony charge if there isn't an imminent threat? Thank you very much for your time, and that's all I wanted to share. Appreciate it.
Sean, could we
Thank you.
tie the stop work orders?
Yeah,
with
Sean.
the- With this contractor's license?
Possibly. That's something we can explore. So we have home improvement contractors licensing. We do not regulate new construction. We do not regulate homeowners in that way. So that would only catch a very limited number of folks that are doing this type of thing. I can address many of those points, but there's a lot there.
Can you just first try to address the repeat offenders? I thought during our work session, Ryan and yourself explained that there actually is, if you're continuing to ignore the violation, isn't there something that's added on to the citation?
So they write each and every day. So they keep returning to that site. That gives us the ability to get high fines. We do not have felony jurisdiction. We do not have jurisdiction beyond unclassified misdemeanor jurisdiction. So our mechanism to kind of make it hurt a little bit for a repeat offender is we add lots and lots of charges. So you'll see sometimes we get convictions in the local justice court that are 20, 40, 60, up to $80,000 on occasion, because these folks keep doing what they're doing. So we're, on a conviction that's $80,000, we likely have 80 charges. So it's not, that we're not fining them or we're not enforcing. It's that we're doing it meticulously.
And just why raise the max for the occupancy provisions and not this? What is there reasoning behind that? Or?
In all likelihood, you're going to end up in civil Supreme Court on your occupancy provisions. That's going to set a timeline for a judge in a higher court to tally the number of days that something's going on. In the justice court, we need an individual accusatory instrument for each and every charge, and the judge is considering that charge individually. So each charge is a case that the town attorney's office is bringing. Fines, just so I can clarify here, fines are a sentence of a judge. So everyone in this country, everywhere, is presumed not guilty. So we have to bring everyone from a statement, a formal charge in a court, to a trial, and hopefully win that trial, and then get a guilty verdict or a guilty ruling from a bench trial, and then a judge imposes a sentence. So this legislation today is to give that judge sentencing guidelines.
Right. And then again, just as a reminder, the reason why we aren't raising the maximum is because of we're preempted.
The New York State town law specifically says we have $1,000 a day jurisdiction.
Okay.
And you did say that you couldn't prevent someone from doing work on another property that they own just because they have violations on the one property.
Correct, they did.
Yeah.
You know, we also are subject to Article 78 of, you know, so what that means is, say we take a determination like that on a parcel that has no life safety issues, no history of prosecution, it's very, very likely we will be overturned, and the standard for those proceedings is arbitrary and capricious. Very, very easy to have that finding without prior history on that specific site. Case law does not support holding permits for the same owner but a different site.
All right, thank you.
There's one more person on Zoom.
Yes, Kevin, could you bring the second person in, please?
You're on, Peter.
Oh, hi. Thanks. Peter Fader. I'm treasurer of the Bridgehampton Civic. I want to thank the board for this new change.
Hold on, Peter. Kevin, are you able to increase the volume of the Zoom in the boardroom, please?
Thank you. Is that better?
Yes. Better.
Okay. Thanks again for the board for doing this. I think it's very important. Considering the amount of development that we're seeing in Bridgehampton in particular. I just hope that with these new penalties that the level of enforcement will be increased as well. We have a lot of laws on the books, and a lot of the, I guess with everyone understands that with limited resources, you have to prioritize, but I think it's very important that as we go forward that we judiciously enforce these new regulations, and I would hope that the potential threats of lawsuits and everything wouldn't diminish anyone's zeal to enforce these regulations, these new regulations. I think it's very important. That's really all I have to say, and thanks again to the board for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To that point,
Yeah.
it was ironically this meeting last year when we passed my legislation to add code enforcement and fire marshals to be able to issue these stop work orders. And, I just want to say that I think Ryan Murphy and the entire code department has done a great job in adding to our pool of, people that can enforce this. And that alone took a lot of, work, and he's done a great job of getting them to go back to these properties and visit them. And it's a lot because, there's more SOS complaints and things to answer every day, and they still get back to these and check on them on a daily basis to their, greatest extent they can.
Yeah.
So,
and Sean, thank you for going through so many variations on this with us and your patience. Yeah, so good.
And I would say, I've been to a lot of these meetings with Ryan too, and thank you, Cindy, for all your previous work with Ryan on adding to the pool of enforcement. And we've added, as you know, the additional officers, I believe two, right, Maria, that we've added code enforcement officers.
Mm-hmm.
So we're working toward that in terms of the enforcement capabilities. And I can say that Ryan has been really, stepping up in numerous ways to help, ensure that we're responsive to a lot of these requests.
Good. Well, if there's no other comments, then I move to close the 7th public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I move to close the 8th public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Madam Clerk, please read the notice for the 9th public hearing.
Public hearing number 9, to consider amendments to Town Code Section 330-248U entitled Fairfield Southampton Residential Plan Development District to allow for a gated entrance and market rate owners to rent their units pursuant to the Rental Code, Chapter 270.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, members of the board, council. My name is Greg Kalnitsky. I'm with Fricelli Deegan Tirana LLP, 333 Earl Ovington Boulevard, Uniondale, New York. Representing the Southampton Point condominium. We are seeking what is technically a change of zone, but not really, just a modification to an existing zone on a fully developed project. The property is located on County Road 39 by the intersection of Tuckahoe Lane. The name of the statute which governs it is it's called the Fairfield Southampton Residential Plan Development District. It was approved by this board in 2009. It consists of 50 dwelling units, 15 of which are income restricted, which will become relevant very shortly. So there's two requests. The first request is to delete provisions of that PDD which mandate owner occupancy and forbid rental eligibility for market rate units only. So that would be section 330, 248, sub U, sub A, sub 4. That section is the one that requires that market rate units be owner occupied. So while requiring the income restricted units to be owner occupied serves an inclusionary purpose and is a laudable goal because you're trying to have people who purchase these income restricted units actually reside in them. I'd submit that it doesn't really serve any purpose to have the market rate units be owner occupied. Whether the market rate units are owner occupied or not, the character of the neighborhood staying the same. You have one dwelling unit for one family, that's who you're gonna have living in there, no matter if they're renting or purchasing the unit. And waiving that restriction, I would submit also would serve an inclusionary purpose. Because if there is that restriction, then you can only afford to live there if you could afford to purchase the unit. Whereas if you're permitted to rent it, it opens up other possibilities. This is something that the condo board took a vote to all their members. This is something they want, and it would serve their interests as well as the town's interests. So, and we would just ask that it be subject to the same rental requirements as any other property in the town.
Are there certain units, I believe you mentioned this at the work session, there are a number of units that are affordable?
15 units are income restricted of the 50 in the development.
And right now, all of them are required to be owner occupied, all 50.
All 50, yes. Whether market rate or income restricted, they're required to be owner occupied per the provisions of the PDD. So the second request is a bit more straightforward. The condo board is looking for permission to install security gates at the two entrances to their development. Under a section of the PDD entitled Site Plan Elements, and there's like another subsection entitled Privacy, there is inserted a restriction which states, quote, gatehouse or driveway entrance gates shall not be permitted. This is a request to enhance the residents' quality of life. I know a lot of them are active in the community. The president of the condo board is on our Zoom today, Jonathan Yedden, and may be joined by some folks from the development here as well today. They're great advocates for quality of life, not just for their development, but throughout the town. As it concerns their development, though, they are unfortunately across the street from a nightclub, which has an impact on their quality of life. They believe that installing the security gates will help because what they have found is at night and other times, folks tend to meander into the development and take parking spaces that are otherwise designated for their units. So that's basically what this parking gate will serve. It's a smart parking gate. It's controlled by RFID so that if you have the RFID, you just pull in and within 1.3 seconds, the gate opens. So it should not cause any type of congestion. Our site plan sets back the gates 20 feet so that you have easily enough space for one car. And if it's 1.3 seconds to get in, there should be no queuing issues. As far as deliveries or guests, this specific gate has the ability to give a temporary RFID by a cell phone app so that when you pull up to the gate, it will open for you too as if you have the permanent RFID. And, these days with Amazon, if you have like a smart garage, they can show up, put the package into your garage and leave. It's a similar principle with this security gate. Does the board have any questions? Because otherwise
I do.
Yes.
The 15 ones who are
Income restricted. Yeah.
income restricted, are they going to be able to rent?
No.
No. Okay.
Our application is not for them to be able to rent those
Okay,
units.
that's why I just wanted to make sure so people know.
Yes. We understand that the intent of those units is people who qualify for those units should live there.
And I had more of a, I mean, I'm supportive, I just had more of a, I guess, comment, and that was that this does have an active HOA, so any rental issues would be overseen by the HOA, you know, in addition to obviously the town if they were violating our code, but also there's an HOA, and if there was issues arising, you know, residents would have somebody to go to other than the town.
Absolutely.
Also to make their complaints known.
The HOA, I think, is going to do a wonderful job at self-regulating because while we're asking just to be subject to the town's rental laws, they're going to be imposing their own restrictions, which will go above and beyond what the town permits. And I'm sure, as you all have seen as board members, they are active in the community. They're certainly going to be there to preserve their own quality of life.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I know that you weren't I don't think your firm represented on the PDD application itself, but do you have any recollection or do you have any documentation as to why the non-rental on the 35 units was put in place in the first place? Do you have any idea why that was put in?
I haven't the slightest clue other than the general principle that if you're a developer and you get an approval and the town inserts that type of restriction, you take it, you build it, and you get out of
Well, I think
Dodge.
too, the town probably, in my thinking would probably be the town board at the time didn't want rentals turning over in there constantly and
I was
wanted
trying to recall.
owner occupied units.
I think it happened just before I got here. But we had the 15 units we used. Long Island has a bunch for the lottery, and that worked out very well.
This is a PDD, does this require a supermajority? I mean, not that I don't think it has this, but
It does, right?
Supermajority. Don't abstain.
No. I support it.
I support it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
All right, well, we don't have any cards on this one, but Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom who'd like to speak?
You've been here long enough.
You did, I don't see it, but you're welcome to come up.
Thank you. So
Oh, yes, you did.
Oh, okay. So my name is Hans Williams. I am a resident at 9 Village Green, also one of the board members. I'm the vice president of the board, also active local community member. I'm a professor over at Stony Brook. Been living here for a few years now with my wife, and also newborn, who I would apologize for. She's been, I think, sleeping during our meeting for today. So on the 2 points, just to keep it short, like our lawyer said, these are two issues that are of high interest to us. We've been talking about them as a community for a few years now. We've also invested our own time and money to have the lawyer here represent, a lot more cogently than I potentially can. Related to the gate, maybe just to start off there first, like was said, we live right across from a nightclub. It's our understanding that the nightclub has also applied to receive a permit to operate as a medical dispensary. We're not too sure if that's going to get approved or not approved, but regardless, it's still going to be a high traffic zone. And over the last couple of years that my wife and I have lived there, there's been, numerous break-ins and issues with just kind of foot traffic coming in. So from a safety concern, we feel that our neighborhood and its location and vicinity to whatever that club turns into is, just a little bit of a concern for us. So anything that we could do to at least try and mitigate, we know that the gate's not going to resolve, but at least to act as a deterrent. And then related to the rentals, my wife and I, we had the opportunity to first rent before we were able to buy. So we had a difficult time trying to find a home within the price range that we were willing to spend. So we ended up renting in Bridgehampton for a few years. And I think that there's the opportunity with these rentals, right, to potentially allow others like myself to be able to take advantage of being able to live within a location like we are now. So yeah, just want to keep it short and thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you for coming. And I also have a card for Gregory Kalmitsky.
No.
Oh, that was you.
Hmm.
Okay. You didn't. So, Now, Kevin, is there anybody on Zoom that wishes to speak at this public hearing? Okay, well,
I think we need
I-
to disclose it.
Yeah.
Motion to close.
Yeah, are you moving?
I'll second.
Mike moved and Bill seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have a resolution for that one? tonight?
No.
Okay.
We'll do it next week.
Okay.
2 weeks.
It looks good, though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for coming in. All right, Madam Clerk, would you please read the 10th and final notice?
Public hearing number 10 for the request to change the zoning classification on 3 adjacent parcels with existing commercial businesses, 2000 County Road 39, 2036 County Road 39, and 161 Hill Station Road, from residential R40 to highway business
right in
in
front of you.
Shinnecock Hills.
These are just rules from the work session.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We need that.
That's nicer than the one that's on the wall.
You got a
You have
crook.
no audience.
Is it crooked?
Yeah.
How'd you draw the short straw for the last public hearing?
Typically find myself drawing that.
I was gonna say, it's much nicer than the one that's on the wall right behind you.
Let's just make sure Kevin is able. Kevin, are you able to focus in on the easel?
There you go. Take it, pass it down,
Thank you.
please.
I do have a memorandum in support of the petition.
Oh, wonderful.
Huh?
That's great.
I can't stand so. I did really think this through. Good evening, members of the board, Madam Supervisor. Carl Benacasa, 860 Montauk Highway, Watermill, New York, for the applicant. There are actually 3 involved parcels.
Thank you again.
I represent 6071 Woodbine LLC, which is the owner of, like this, which is the owner of Dan's Papers parcel. Joining in the application is Southampton Realty, Hotel Realty LLC, which is the owner of the hotel, the Bentley Hotel, and F&E Realty Company, which is the owner of the gas station. I believe representatives from those owners are on the Zoom tonight, and they will speak if they wish, and we'll recognize them at the end of the presentation. So the memorandum goes into detail the basis for this application. Given that we are the 10th hearing, I'm going to be as quick as I can. Collectively, these 3 parcels are 4.5 acres in size. Originally, under town's original zoning, they were zoned business, although everything around it was zoned residential. Under the 1957 zoning, it was E-business classification, which is a 20,000 square foot commercial zone. That zoning changed in 1972 with the upzoning, and then it became R40. Despite the residential zoning happening more than 50 years ago, none of these parcels has ever been developed as a residential parcel, all of them as commercial parcels. Looking to each of them one by one, 2036 County Road 39, which is Dan's Papers, was actually vacant until 2008 when it was originally developed as a retail use, and has since changed twice from various office uses by virtue of change from one non-conforming use to another. From that retail use to various office uses, and again, this town board 2 years ago changed it again to allow for the existing newspaper use. It obtained a use variance that allowed it to operate as a commercial entity in 1990. This was after intervention by the state Supreme Court. In fact, this parcel and the hotel both benefit from use variances, and council will tell you that use variances are very uncommon. It requires a very high standard of review. And essentially what it says is that zoning, the finding is that zoning as enacted under the ordinance is unreasonable and unfair and leaves them very little use of the parcel. As a result, they are entitled to this variance relief. In all, 15 variances have been granted on these 3 parcels over the course since zoning was enacted, which is an exceptionally large amount of variances. Right there, it tells you
that the zoning on this property doesn't make sense. And really, it doesn't make sense. It's buttressed between County Road 39 at its merger with Sunrise Highway, and then Hill Station Road, which is a significant arterial road, and to the south, what is left to the state of New York, a property that has been condemned for future expansion of Sunrise Highway. They do not touch, none of them touch another residential property, and they are, again, sandwiched and an island between very active and busy roadways. The only existing use that was a permitted use when it was built is the gas station, and because the gas station was built in 1966 prior to the change from commercial to residential zoning. Your boards, the ZBA, the planning board, the town board, the County Road 39 land use plan, and the Suffolk County Supreme Court have all addressed the issue of zoning on this lot, and have all ultimately determined that residential is an unfit, unreasonable, and unfair use on these parcels. The ZBA stated, this was back in 1980s, the early 1980s, I'm sorry, in 1989, that this, quote, the parcel was not favorable for residential development. In determining that, it still, at the time, denied the use variance, saying that essentially no use should go there. We're talking about for the Dan's Papers parcel specifically. However, that determination was challenged to the court. The court issued a decision, overturned the determination, and required issuance of the use variance. The planning board in 1989 stated that the property was unsuitable for residential development, and just 2 weeks ago, unanimously supported this zone change. So the zoning board and the planning board have both weighed in, both acknowledged that these parcels are not suitable for residential use, yet they remained zoned residential to this day. The County Road 39 land use plan, although it didn't specifically call this out for zone change, did note that the vision of the plan was to limit residential uses adjacent to the highway. So the vision of the plan is to do what it can to limit residential uses to the highway. Clearly, although there are no residential uses on this lot, keeping it zoned residential flies in the face of the tenets of that plan. Their concern under the County Road 39 land use plan was that primarily that school buses would cause congestion on County Road 39 and certainly pose safety issues for the children waiting at the bus stops along that road. I think it's fair to say that limiting residential use on that road is certainly reasonable. Perhaps the most compelling was that Suffolk County Supreme Court decision that I mentioned. And Jim, you have, I provided you a copy.
Yes, I do, Counsel.
Okay. I'm trying to get through this as quick as I can. The Suffolk County Supreme Court in 1990, 35 years ago, stated that residential zoning on this parcel was, quote, unconstitutional as applied. Yet despite that, is it okay? Despite, it is hot. It's my hot air. I'm trying to get through this as quick as I can. Yet despite that, for 35 years, these lots have remained residentially zoned in direct counterbalance, in direct conflict with the directive of the Supreme Court that these not be residentially zoned, as such zoning is unconstitutional. In reaching that determination, it looked to the situation, the circumstances of the lots, the history of the lots, and the fact that multiple boards, multiple studies, they had various witnesses testify, all of which said, these are not residential lots. No one's going to use them as a residential lot. No one wants their driveway ending up at the merger of Sunrise Highway and County Road 39. No one wants to live where their gas station is. Although essentially this was painted with a broad swath to become residential in the 70s, it's never developed that way because it's not fit for that. And the application today is in line with the town's position throughout, through its various agencies and boards, in line with the requirements of the state court, in line with this board's decision when they when in 2022 they granted a change from one conforming use to another. Specifically in that decision, it said we need to study this zoning and that we should review whether or not a change in zone is appropriate here. So for all those reasons, the reasons outlined in my memo, we are asking that this board essentially effectuate what circumstance and practicality have already done throughout the years, zone this residential commercial highway business. I don't know, is there any, Neil, are you there? I don't know, there were representatives of the other applicants that may want to speak.
Hey, Jim, I have a question for you. If we do change the zone, does this give Bentley opportunity to add on? That's what my concern is.
Right. I mean, the size of and the location of the property will control that.
We asked Janice, I think she said that they were already maxed.
They're already maxed out on their site for the most part.
Their sanitation.
Comply with HB if they wanted an accessory use for their
Janice,
hotel.
could you
Yeah.
at least either one or the other? You could sit here.
I would say along those lines, the benefit of legalizing the properties is that from a bank's point of view, it's easier to get financing to keep up the properties, to maintain them properly. That's been something I've seen in other applications throughout my career, is when people, although they have it, they're all three buildings, all sites are enjoying a non-conforming use right now. Legalizing them gives them more credibility as far as financing in the future and maintaining the properties.
So I actually have a question for, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that if you, creating HB creates that commercial zone, but you still don't technically allow hotels in HB. So it's still non-conforming to a certain degree. So you can only expand it up to 50%. So that's the short answer. Or they can come back again for changing one non-conforming use to another or whatever. They'd have to. So the best that the Bentley could do, for as far as your question, Councilman Powell, about expansion, is that they're still rendered a non-conforming use, even though you're changing it to a commercial. So they're getting closer. And our objective is to move closer and closer to conformity, knowing that you can't always be conforming in the first step. Now, there's been many people, and this will be future work sessions, have been saying, well, why can't we have a hotel on the highway? You have the Atlantic, you have this one, you have other ones. What's the problem here? Why can't we have hotels in HB? And I think that's going to be something we'll be talking about in the weeks to come, as far as like what does that look like, and does that make sense in certain places?
I think it does. I think that's a conversation, obviously, for another day.
And not related germane necessarily to this.
Yes.
It's a global thing across the town.
It's the location where it's going to be on.
Yeah.
But are they maxed out, or can they expand another 50%?
I don't know their
Well,
full, if they were to say, well, we'll knock off a few rooms and add an accessory restaurant, they're going to have to, they're confined by their sanitary flow.
Yeah, the sanitary flow is really
Yeah,
what
so
controls
the sanitary flow is the limiting factor
All right,
in that case.
Before you leave.
Yeah.
The most important thing for me in this whole process of when we decided to do all three parcels, and in our elect to consider in your memo, it actually states, and this was the most important thing to me, I recommended that the board elect to consider the change of zone application with the understanding that some HB uses may not be appropriate and that the board will likely require cross-access agreements. And that was something that I absolutely wanted, was a cross-access agreement.
Okay, so yeah, I think he can speak to that.
Okay.
So first to Councilman Pell's question and the supervisor's question. The hotel will remain not exactly a pre-existing non-conforming use, a use permitted by use variance.
Yeah.
So it'll remain that. I can tell you the use variance limited it to 40 units.
Right.
So it would have to go back to the ZBA and get an expansion of that use variance to expand the amount of units, which is incredibly unlikely. So
Thank you.
I don't think there is a risk of expanding the amount of units, if that's what you're concerned with.
Yeah, plus
They're
it's
basically frozen in time to this, because as Janice said, if we make this HB, it's still non-conforming. So they have to expand their use variance, which is discretionary approval from the zoning board.
How big is that lot? The hotel portion?
how big is the lot itself? I think it's about 2.5 acres.
Yes, and that's 40 units. I mean, you're already up against health department max.
You're already up against
probably
health
over
department.
density in the
But
health department.
by zoning, they can't do it.
No.
Cross-access, yes, if you think that's appropriate, certainly we're open to it.
Absolutely. I mean, just the deliveries and getting the deliveries able to go out to Hill Station and go off to Montauk Highway or what, you know what I mean? Like, it just takes that, not everybody has to come back onto 39.
How many?
So are you just to be clear, from the
From
Dance
Dance
Papers lot
Papers
to the hotel?
to the
Yes.
hotel.
We talked about that at work
Yes,
session.
we did. And I think Dance Papers,
agree
when
with
it came
Cindy.
for site plan, they already accounted for that. So it's just the hotel side now that has to.
How many I mean, I'm sorry, I'm trying to visualize it being there, and I'm just having a hard time. How many access points are there currently off of 39 for those the
39.
properties being considered?
There's an ingress and an egress.
Yep.
Yes. I would love to get rid of the egress. I think that's kind of where you're going.
Yeah, and have everybody exit off to
An
South Hill
ingress
Station.
and an egress here, so
Well,
2.
So that's my thing. I think if we're able to enhance the cross access and remove one of the access points, because the study that the county is doing on 39, as well as some of our own task force work, we've been observing that all these different access points and turns that people are making off of 39 is a big cause of a lot of the congestion, a lot of the traffic safety issues that we're seeing. So if there's a way to limit cars turning from 39 onto one of the properties,
particularly left hand.
From 39 onto, or I think more concerning is from the properties onto, right?
Onto 39, yeah.
So if
And
I
the
may
other
suggest,
thing
I
with-
would think maybe eliminate the egresses onto 39.
Right.
Directing all egress to Hill
onto
Station.
Hill Station.
Yes.
The other thing on that is there is a bus stop, I believe, right in front of Dan's.
Somewhere here.
So basically allowing that cross access, making it easier for those people that are in the hotel to walk over
the bus.
and not walk on 39. They can walk through the parking lot at that point.
Pretty popular in the summer.
Now, is that something that can be done, Carl?
Cross access?
Mhm.
If you make it a condition of this.
I would like to make it a
zone change.
condition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the other entities have to agree to it.
Well,
They're all party to this
we're all
zone
party
change
to
now.
this. We made the motion, it's now, you elected to consider, you're now considering this.
Yeah.
So you don't need our consent.
No, as long as it's a reasonable condition, we don't need the consent of the applicant.
Yeah, I think we need to cross access.
As long as
No.
it's rationally related to the application, you're fine.
And we
it's
put
good
that in
for-
our elect to consider.
Plus, it's better for the first responders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's better. It's having this zone residential just made.
One emergency crash gate entrance on the other side though.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're
We
all
have
we're
to
all on the same page of it doesn't make sense for it to be residential.
Yeah.
We're just how can we utilize this, action to make everything better for 39? And the only way I could see doing that is having that cross access and have everything go out to Hill Station instead of coming out onto 39 all over the place.
Did we get county input on this? Is this?
I was going to ask if we heard from the planning commission.
Yeah, this would be the.
The planning, excuse me.
So it's local determination, right?
Really?
They gave it a local determination.
Bizarre.
As if you say, let's just say hypothetically you want to approve this subject to cross-access easement future cross-access easement agreements, then they come to the planning board, and
Or
the
site
planning
plan.
board will refer it to, everyone that needs to see it, like, fire marshal. There may be some things with the state building code as far as like having a crash gate somewhere along there, even if you're closing the access, they have to be able to get in. Like, let's say Hill Station Road had a huge fire and you had to get in. We just want to make sure we're not you wouldn't want to make it a regular exit for people, but you may still want to keep it as an emergency way in or out somewhere on here. So, but that we refer to
And
the fire.
Janice, cross access and enhancing cross access is actually written throughout the County Road 39 plan.
Sure. We're all for the cross access. We love it.
I mean, I think we're all there with you on it shouldn't be residential. I mean, it's
Yeah, we very much agree with instituting the cross access plan.
okay.
Maybe.
How
maybe.
would that go, though? I mean, are they
I
going to be
think we could do
driving
that
through a
now. I
parking
mean,
lot?
as part of this process,
Yeah.
you could
Yeah.
ask him, to draw up a cross access plan that you can consider.
That would be good.
Would you like that?
Could you also,
Yes.
Carl?
Or just condition it and then the planning board
Or
can.
the planning board, and they're very versed in this.
Yeah.
They know what they're talking about.
To condition this on this and then refer it to the planning board?
No, and then go and require you to go to the planning board for like a site plan amendment for the cross access.
Do we have to do that?
Just for that purpose, right?
If you're closing something now
Well, maybe we
and
get
changing
input.
the conditions of a site, one of these or all of these site plans, then you need to amend your site plan. This is just a zoning change, and it's part of the mitigation or whatever you want to call that, the exaction for that. You are asking for a cross-access plan to be executed now, right?
Yes, that's part of
So
the.
either it's gonna happen here
Yeah.
through this board or through the planning board. Somewhere or another has to say, this is the cross-access plan that's gonna work and this
Because
is it.
prior to this board, we did do a change of one non-conforming use to another for dance papers. And we went from there being 2 businesses located in there down to 1 as a condition of that change from one non-conforming to another. So now at this point, if you want to put those business uses back in, I think the cross-access agreement, that's where that comes into play, and that's where that mitigates that extra traffic.
So all of these would have to come in with a cross-access plan.
Just the 2.
The 2, the Bentley and the Dan's Papers.
Yeah.
And the gas
I think
station really
Dan's-
is just part of that.
It doesn't call for cross-access.
No, because there's nowhere for there's nowhere for them.
Yeah, there's there's nothing that needs to pass.
Yeah, so.
I mean, is there clearing required
Looks
for
like
that?
there's nowhere to
Can't
go.
see.
So it's just this, you're asking for some kind of.
Right, there's a propane tanks here that would have to be relocated.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going here, I think that would be the only place that makes sense.
We would require covenants and easements and agreements, and if you're saying that they have to be built now, then we would want that site plan to come in and someone's clearing out the buffer area between these 2 places and putting in pavement. That's what you're asking for,
Mhm.
right? You're asking not just easements and agreements, you're asking for
It to actually
constructed
happen, yes.
cross-access. Yeah, so this is the condition of this type of approval is there'll be some work on the site, which is to pave the access connections.
I don't think that'll be a problem, but if we could condition, like within a time frame to develop it,
What do you mean?
like a certain amount of months.
Put a performance bond on it, I mean, we would do like any other roadway.
That's fine. I just think the time, I wouldn't want to wait for this zone change to take effect for that to be actually implemented, because that could be a delayed process. So if
Well,
you
you want the zone change to go through conditioned upon these things
happening within a certain period of time.
within a certain period of time.
Yes.
So they, in order to create performance bonds and things like that.
That's
you have to
fine.
go through planning.
So if
Whatever the process is that we have to
what
make
what
that happen.
yeah,
that's-
well, how do you want that process to go? Do you think? Do you want to think about it?
No,
I'm happy to
resolve
think
it
about
now.
it, but I would just say the normal way of going about it is that you would approve the conceptual zone change
On March 11th.
whenever you are ready to approve it. Then the conditions of approval are you have to go back to planning, you have to execute to the form and content.
Well, can we say that they
approved by
can't
the
put
town
other
attorney.
businesses in that building until that cross-access is completed?
Yeah, we can wordsmith the conditions
Okay.
however you want it to be. And then when they get to planning, planning gets an application to amend their site plans to institute cross-access. And then that's when all this happens. They'll say, okay, you've got 2 years on this site plan. 2 years is our typical time period.
Janice, at what point do
What do
we
you mean
see?
2 years? To do
When to file the site plan to put in the cross-access.
But it's gonna be in there, if we're saying that they can't have other tenants in the building until that happens.
It expires. They
then
could do it in
it's gonna be in
2
there.
months if they
Yeah.
want. But if a normal site plan approval is valid for a certain period of time,
Janice,
which is 2 years.
At what point do we see the cross-access plan?
We don't. The
You
planning
don't,
board
the
does.
planning board
We go to
does.
the planning board. We were okay.
Unless you want to. Like nothing
I don't
stopping
think we
you
need
from
to.
doing
I
it
think-
all.
I think it should go through the planning board.
I think the planning board is more than capable of dealing with this, getting the covenants we need, setting the bond amounts. You'll get the bond, you'll approve it, you'll get all that like you normally do. And then they'll have a certain period of time, which I would argue is 2 years because it's no different than any other site plan, to put
Since
it in.
this is like something in progress, can he get onto the planning board agenda as instead of, I don't know what the backlog is there. How long?
There's
would it
no
take?
backlog. We'll process it as soon as you approve it. And the backlog is usually the time frame it takes for people to get plans drawn and submitted to our satisfaction, and legal documents drawn and submitted to our satisfaction. Those are the things that take time.
What exactly would they have to submit, an
A
amended
cross-access
site plan?
agreement, an amended site plan, and a performance bond. If you want the cross-access done now.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying you want, so I'm
Mhm.
saying what
Yeah,
they
I
have to
think
give us in order to get that done.
Okay, and
And you're good with that?
I have to talk to my clients.
Okay.
Certainly. So,
I mean, if that's what we're willing to give them, then that's what we're.
if that's the condition, that's the condition, but I do want to talk about it.
Now, the
There's no
way,
resolution of adoption.
right, now,
No.
the planning board
Didn't
will
approve them,
approve certain things subject to future cross-access agreements, meaning they don't have to do it yet. So, but you want it now.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, if
there's
the whole
more than
process
one way
of
to go
doing
about
this,
it.
when the whole process was why we started this was to put more tenants in that building, then I think we need to deal with, because we did take it down from 2 to 1, and now we're talking about adding those businesses
We have
back
to
and
do
adding
cross-access.
deliveries back and everything else. I think we need to have the cross access.
okay. So they come up with an agreement between the parties that are sharing this access. It's not hard. It's like a
Yeah,
strip
I mean,
of
to me,
land
that's the
here.
mitigation, and I don't think that really the traffic
And
counts
there's
at
an
this point,
elevation
because we were
change?
discussing matter,
They don't really matter, no.
especially if you're doing.
It's really
cross-access.
just like clearing a small bit of trees and putting the connection of
Yeah.
pavement between the
And
two
moving while
sites.
moving propane tanks.
And moving your propane tanks. Yeah.
So, Janice, just to clarify, so pending what your clients say, that therefore we'd see that reflected in the resolution we adopt where the cross-access contingency is in there?
Now, we do local law resolutions, which don't normally contain conditions, but we can do the resolution with
I wanna see
condition
what the
of
rest of the
approval,
pictures
right,
are.
for the zone change.
Yeah, can we see something like subject to planning board approval?
We can say it's approved subject to, right, in the resolution, in the local law?
Oh, there's a pool? I didn't know there was a pool.
There is a pool.
Yeah. Looks go right.
This was and this is the 500 foot.
So
Okay.
Dan's papers, people are gonna be able to.
I figured you
drive
took all the time to put them together. We may as well look at them.
Do you want to?
If I was hearing number one, I would have.
That way.
That just shows what was originally, this was the original commercial district. So the town board, the original zoning, 57 zoning, recognized this wasn't supposed to be residential, and they carved it out, the green. And then, or the blue.
72 is that
And then
up zone?
72, they just came through and.
Is this a significant drop here? Is this a significant grade change?
I can,
Topo there?
What's that red circle? Or
that just highlights that this was e-business.
Oh.
That's just an indicator. I'll look at the topo change. Well, certainly that'll be considered in any plan if it's agreeable.
It's basically the users of Dan's papers can just, here, you're not making them close this off. You're just making these guys, that's too much.
No, we would like to close off the exit from Dan's onto 39.
This, right?
Yeah, so
turn
they can
out.
only come in there, but they have to exit out Hill Station.
What if they're making a left, they can't make a left.
They can't
it's
make a
right on
left.
They can't make
Okay,
that.
yeah. That's good.
Why? Because it's so, because you just want to eliminate one exit onto 39?
Especially because there's another one for the gas station right there.
Yeah.
And then there's Hill Station. So if you can eliminate that one, I mean, that's,
I mean, this is the bigger one to eliminate,
Yeah.
in all honesty, this
Yeah.
one's more.
I mean,
That's
if we're
great.
making them, can we make them come into site plan too and eliminate
That
and
would
make,
make a lot of sense.
These guys are, well, you would just come in here. You know, you would just, instead of,
Could we require that?
I wouldn't do this without some traffic expert
Study,
telling me that that's a good idea. Like, I'm not a traffic.
well, they've got to get trucks and trailers into those pumps and stuff too, so it's
I
got
don't want to
more.
close. I
And
just
then,
think
and
the
then if you
cross
come in,
access,
because that's,
I'm not
no,
sure
I'm
we
gonna
should
tell you
close
right
any of
now
these
that
things.
they have to come in that way because they will pull onto the pumps and then they pull out Hill Station. If you have them come in, how do they turn? There's no way to turn around in that lot.
Yeah. So this can't be closed, but this, we looked at this, even you know,
If,
for
if we
whatever they
make,
have.
if we
This is
make
just an
Dan's
extra
paper
relief.
exit out that way, then I'm fine with it, because it's taken a lot of that traffic that's exiting onto 39 out.
I think we should just refer that action to like a McLean or somebody to just take a look at that, make sure that's
Yeah.
okay.
Eliminating the egress.
Eliminating that right turn.
You also, you don't want to make it a shortcut.
I don't, how would we condition this as a part of the zone change?
You're just gonna get on the line
What
for
would
Hill
be the
Station.
boundaries?
Some people don't know.
You said it
realize
was
that.
written, right?
What about this? What if we, Janice, if we just say we approve the zone change? And we would recommend that you go to the planning board to discuss the, exit out there and, get their expertise on how to do that.
Yeah, but we definitely want the cross access.
Of course.
If you want that cross access, I think you could reference it, subject to planning board approval of a cross access from Dan's paper site.
And leave the ingress egress stuff up to them.
But why do you need the cross access if they might approve the egress and egress for the Dan's paper building?
Because
Then
it
you
just
wouldn't need
gives
it.
them another way. If they're going to Montauk Highway, they don't have to go out on 39. They might want to go, to Southampton Village, and they can get right onto Hill Station Road and not touch 39.
It's actually a great idea.
It's only 2 offices that would be using that cross access, right?
You want to.
It's also
but
when
here's
there's
the other-
accidents and that's shut down, it's great for them to have access to Hill Station Road.
But that, you do want to discourage just the public at large using this as a cut through.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, when you're using that
Yeah.
for a cut through, Carl, you're going to stand on line at Hill Station even longer.
Not to get down to the village that way.
And when
You're
you get-
already there. I
Well,
mean,
you could go south on Hill Station.
Yeah.
Right.
and nobody's really going to know that there's an access through the hotel parking lot
Unless
unless
they
you're
watch
working
TV.
there.
We're always in favor of cross access as a general rule.
Yeah.
It is part of the plan.
Yeah.
But I'm just questioning whether or not you should also cut off their other act.
Well, I really want the cross
I
access.
think you
Then
can
you
add
could-
cross access, but not
Yeah,
take
that
away
you
their
could leave to the
existing
judgment of the
egress.
planning board. You don't have to say
We should look at
you're
it.
eliminating that. And I would also say, I mean, I know the planning commission said local determination, but maybe you informally ask Alice Prego to weigh in, since he's doing the 39 study now. I don't know.
Sure, we can have to ask them. I mean, I'm sure they're eager to know if they can move forward, so I don't want to hold anybody up, but I think it's worth finding
I
out.
would pass it subject to the cross access.
In addition
We can
to
work some
not
language
shutting
in
down
that
the one and adding.
if the planning board finds it's really not
I think
appropriate to have
especially
it.
if you speak to the county and the county says it's not, if the county is okay with that,
Most like
That's
sites
fine.
want in and out, and then we have cross access between them.
like I said,
So
I
it's
just
hard
want them
say
to
they
have that.
can't have it out now. They get like an in and an out with their curb cut permit. Now we're saying you can't have the out. You can only have the cross over that property.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you should have both. That's all I'm saying.
So
and,
we're-
and if it's more conducive to get through the Bentley and get out, that's great. But I don't want to take anything that they already have away from them.
That's a
That's
good
my own
point.
recommendation.
Yeah, you get that.
So the question on the table is the cross access between Dan's papers and the Bentley. Okay, there's no resolution of adoption on tonight?
No, so we'll work on the language.
So, when would that be on, you think, next meeting?
I can put it on at the pleasure of the board whenever
Okay.
they're ready.
March 11th.
Let me talk to the clients, see if there any ideas they have, any thoughts they have. I can't certainly agree to anything on their behalf right now, though the jurisdiction is yours.
But if they're not, if it's possible that they're gonna say, we don't need to get rid of the, this one exit. They like the idea of the cross access.
I think that's-
Couldn't we treat it the way we would any other, like you give the performance on, we use a zone change, but then you
Yeah, and I think if
have to go ahead and
if
do it.
the agreement is, if everyone's in agreement that the cross access is going to be a requisite, and I have an opportunity to speak to my clients and we vet that amongst them, and everyone gets on the same page, I think our preference would be to do exactly what you said. Have the zone change approved and some mechanism to ensure that subsequently the cross access is open.
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah, but again, I need to speak with, there's three different parties involved here, and I'd certainly need to speak with them.
Fair enough.
Do you think anyone's on Zoom?
I know that they were going to be there. I don't know if they want to chime
Kevin,
in
is
or.
anyone on Zoom?
Josh and Neil.
Neil represents the gas station, and Josh is Josh Schneps.
Oh,
I'm going to bring them both in.
yes,
Yeah.
please.
Sure.
Do you want me to bring them in simultaneously?
Yeah, that's fine.
Hey, everybody, I hate to be the one to keep you up late.
Hello. Hi.
We can't really hear them that well, Kevin.
I haven't spoken yet.
Go ahead.
This is Neil Hurstick. Good evening. I'm an attorney. I represent F&E. I have been on actually since 6 o'clock and have been very impressed with the way your board addresses these public matters. It's quite impressive. Having
Thank
been
you.
before many committees, this is a welcome breath of fresh air. So the question I have, and I represent the gas station, this cross accent and means of ingress and egress. We did not contemplate any adjustment to our means of ingress and egress. And I understand that one of the supervisors, and I don't know, I can't see your nameplate, the lady with the red sweater and the black
Cindy.
the jacket. Were you contemplating this having an impact on those means of ingress and egress?
No, I actually said that I understand that you couldn't, with trailers needing to get in and out of the gas station, you would need to leave your access as it is.
Okay, yeah, because that, it's sometimes be careful what you wish for. You come in and ask for something and all of a sudden you get something else that was not contemplated.
Yeah.
We're for changing the zone for the reasons that Mr. Benacasa had eloquently stated earlier, and it set forth in his memo, which sets forth the history quite in a detailed fashion. By the same token, we don't want to lose anything. As you said, I think as Madam Supervisor, you indicated, well, people shouldn't lose something as a result of this. I do understand that the board does have rights to say, okay, well, if you're going to do this, we have a right to say you should do that, as a condition. We don't see us changing the gas station. We don't see real impact. We joined this application because it made sense because of the zone as an entirety, these three parcels. And I know that you're considering impacts to the community and impacts to the road. But we don't want to change our property. I can't speak to anybody else, but I just wanted to make that clear that even if you did the, set a condition, you're going to change the zone, that's great. But I would not counsel any changes to our property. And since the supervisor indicated that that was not on the table, that's fine. I just wanted to be clear and on the record that we just want a zone change. And that is all we are seeking. If you set conditions, well, then those are the conditions, I guess, for future applicants if they make changes, if they want to make changes to their parcels.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you. We
thank
understand, and it doesn't appear to us that any changes need to be made to your parcel.
Thank you, Madam. Appreciate the confirmation.
Okay. And Josh?
Yeah, thank you all. I appreciate your consideration to really allow us to use the building for what it's being used for, which is really office space. I know when we initially bought the property, it was specific to attorneys, engineers, I think it was brokers, and obviously there aren't many that have newspaper. So we changed it to what we are. Obviously there's financing issues, but there's also basic issues if we want to just have another tenant. I don't know that any of it precludes from the number of people that are there. Like whether I have 10 people or I have 100 people, whatever my office is zoned for, I assume I can have in that building. Is that true?
It's limited by parking, yeah.
But I mean, it's a tremendous amount of parking. So I guess my question is, I don't know the owner of the hotel, but now it's basically saying, well, you have to open up the property to many more people that are going to be on my property, and I don't believe that that property is level. I mean, I think their property might be 3 feet higher than ours. So I don't know that it's such a simple solution than knocking down a lot of trees. There are trees between the properties. I mean, it just sounds like, to me, it's like overcomplicating what we already have. And we just want to be able to use it for what it is. I mean, it seems crazy. Before we even bought the building, it outlined 4 uses. So I could have had an attorney in there, and an engineer, and a broker or banker. It was very oddly picked, and I don't even know why. So we're just saying this zoning makes no sense. We just want it to be logical. We're not looking to knock down the building and build houses. But it just isn't zoned. It makes no sense. But then to have to basically adjoin my property to someone else's that's using it 24/7 and have a lot of people in their property 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't
Right now,
seem
the
to make
hotel
much
people
sense.
come in through Hill Station, right? That's their access.
That's their only access.
Because now I have to think about the security of my building, the security of my parking, and I do think people will figure out how to get through. I don't think there's a street now in any part of the Hamptons that, Google Maps or any of the others, people haven't figured out. If anything, I think you're going to create more problems than you have now. I hate to say it, but I think it's true. I mean, what's the downside to me? I'm going to have to spend the money to connect the properties. But I think you're going to create other issues that you're not thinking about, which is people making quick rights to get through when it's going to be a minimal amount of people that use it now. We're not using it during peak hours. The offices, hours are not going to be the peak, hours that we see traffic on those roadways. So I hear what you're saying. I'm not, saying we won't do it and just stay the way we are, but I just think you're going to create more problems than there already exist.
30 seconds.
That's it.
So that's why the planning board does future cross-access. So we get all the covenants and agreements from all parties. And at the time it makes sense, we impose the cross-access. So it may be a different time, like the hotel may come in and be something
But the problem
else.
is we did the change of one non-conforming use to another, and we downed it to one business use.
Right.
Because every additional business use comes with additional deliveries, additional, Grubhub deliveries, additional, it's all additional stuff that one business doesn't have. I mean, you'll have UPS delivering to 4 different businesses at different.
But how is that
delivery
any
times.
difference if I use my building to full capacity? If I have 100 employees from one company or 50 employees, two companies of 50, I don't think it makes a difference. You're going to have the same parking spots. And what are you going to have, an extra food delivery? It's just the same number of people. I don't think that's a fair argument.
So it was.
I hear what you're saying. If my property is zoned for a certain number of people or certain square footage, and I want to change that, totally get it. But that's not the argument here. I mean, I'm entitled to hire as many people as I want to fill the building.
Yeah. So whether it's
So
two
if it's
businesses
whether
or
it's
one.
attorneys or whether it's writers, what's the difference? It's not going to impact that. I don't agree with that.
I'm just explaining why, when we granted the change from one non-conforming use to another, what the give was, and the give was there was 2 businesses operating out of there, and we chose to make it one business operating out of there for the reasons of there being less deliveries, less ingress and egress. So yes, people in chairs coming and leaving at the same time every day maybe won't add, but maybe the businesses have different hours. Maybe there's different delivery days. That's why we decided to limit it to one use, because of where it is on 39. So my thing is, if you're going to add those back, there needs to be some give, and my give on that is the cross access, so that those delivery trucks, when they come in, can go out through and go down Hill Station and don't necessarily have to go back on 39.
Although people in those hotels may not want delivery trucks accessing through that property either.
I mean, I also disagree with the
wonky. It's a
original
little bit
intent. I had no use. It wasn't, my business wasn't listed. That wasn't the reason it went to one business. It went to one business because the newspaper
I'm
wasn't
not
listed
arguing with
as
him
a
at this
suitable
point.
tenant.
All I'm saying is I was here when we did the change of one non-conforming use to another, and that was the reasoning behind it. That's all I'm saying. And
Okay,
that
I
was
just don't
that was a
understand how you go
unanimous
from
decision.
2 to 1, and that changes the amount of traffic. That I don't agree with. Doesn't make any sense. I could sit here and argue with you all night. but I
I'm
don't
not
know.
arguing with you, sir, and I'm actually done arguing with you.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying.
Regardless of the, regardless of this issue, the case has been clearly made that this should not be zoned residential. It's never been used as a residential lot. It will never be used as residential lots. The court, as I mentioned, has stated affirmatively that requiring residential use on these parcels is unconstitutional. Jim has that case law. I understand your concerns with traffic. I would note, and I'll give this case to Jim, that the Court of Appeals, the state's highest court, has found that however compelling and acute the community traffic problem may be, its solution does not lie in placing an undue and uncompensated burden on an individual lot owner if the zoning on that lot is inappropriate. That's from the Court of Appeals. So
It's the same point. This is a discretionary action that we're being asked to take. So, I mean, we ask people for way more than this on change of zones all the time.
I'm just saying, I would argue given that court decision, the discretion is not really with this board right now. This change has to happen.
So then why is it before us?
And then we don't need to undertake it.
Why is it before you?
We don't have to rezone
There's a
anything.
there's a change of zone request before the board.
Yeah, but the court has said that the existing zoning is unconstitutional.
Then go to the court.
Then petition the state, right? I mean,
That's the route you want to take. Then petition the state to change the zoning because it's unconstitutional.
I don't want to go this route. We were all on the same page. I think there's a condition that is.
We want to change the
Yes.
zone. It
The
makes
court-
sense
the
to
court-
change the zone.
The court sent the matter back to the zoning board and directed them to approve it at the time. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing in this decision or any decision that compels this board to zone it to HB. It could be, but
I don't think cross access is a huge ask.
Cross access is written throughout the County Road 39 corridor plan, right? So I think with looking at this and granting you the zone change, I think it is a reasonable request to examine. Let us know if that is something that we can do.
That's where we were. Absolutely.
The topography might, have an impact on that decision.
I mean, it's written in the recommendation as well of the.
In our elect to consider, that was
Memorandum.
part of our elect to consider was that we would. It says it right in
It says
there.
we
so.
would likely require.
To consider it, and that's what we're willing to do. Absolutely.
So you want to get back to us?
Yeah, I have to speak with the parties involved, and I'll get back to you.
Okay. I'm gonna move from there.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Want to make a motion to close it? You
Yeah,
want
we
to keep
could
it
close the public.
Then if we have to change it, you might want to keep it open.
What was that, Kevin?
Well, I think
I have a hand on Zoom.
for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you guys as the?
Yep, go ahead.
Maybe that's the hotel attorney.
The hotel attorney spoke. Oh, no.
Gas
I'm
station.
sorry, the gas station attorney spoke. Is it a new hand?
Ken.
Yes, that's the hotel.
Just kidding.
So you're going to be out of here.
I'm sure he got a phone call.
I'm just kidding.
Is that the owner or the attorney?
Hey, Ken.
Yeah, hello?
Hi.
Hi, this is Ken Patel. I'm the owner, actually, one of the owners.
Of the Bentley?
Yes.
Hi.
Sorry, we had such a hard time getting onto the Zoom for some reason. I just want to make a quick note that, we weren't aware of this cross-access, requirement in order for us to change the zoning. So I just want to make sure that, we would like to first, evaluate that whole cross-access, what that's going to entail for us, because that might add more traffic to us. It's we have to go through whole bunch of things before we can even agree to that. So, and as I guess Carl mentioned, let us figure something out first, and then maybe we go to the next step from there.
Okay.
I think that's where we're all at.
Yeah.
I think we should keep this open.
Do we have to keep it open? No?
No.
Well,
No, but this is all between all the parties involved.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Public.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, then I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. Is that yours?
Yeah.
I was gonna say ours doesn't work.
You can have it. I ordered on Amazon 1 in 15 cans.
Really?
You want this in-
Seriously?
Yeah, I'll leave it for you.
You're gonna make a donation to the town of
There you
Southampton?
go. Okay.
Good night.
I mean, if you need. you would like to. All right, that brings us to the public portion.
What's that?
Kevin, is there anyone on Zoom for public portion?
I don't know. What is that? If you see something, say something, Jim. What is it?
I have no
You
idea.
gonna go see what it is?
You
All
want me to
right,
go?
bring them on,
The black
please.
bags.
Yeah, it's probably, who was sitting there? That
I want to go see that. What is that, Joe?
Jim.
No, it was canceled.
Sacrifice, Jim.
It was canceled Friday,
It's probably,
Why don't you ask?
Oh, it's for the.
Hello.
That's good to
Hi,
know that it
so
works.
me again.
Came in.
I'm Meredith Berkowitz on behalf of the Bridgehampton Civic Association. I just have a question, which is applications that go into limbo at the zoning board and or the planning board, what is the procedure there? So for example, we have a ag property in Bridgehampton that filed for variance in 2021 because they were keeping what our view was illegal animals on the property. It then went from the ZBA to the planning board on a referral. They held a preliminary hearing where the feedback was sort of negative about allowing husbandry on such a small parcel. The applicant then filed for a covenant amendment, which went before the planning board. There was a referral to the Ag Advisory Board. They issued a letter. It was on for decision then finally in November of 2023, but then the applicant asked to go back a third time to the Ag Board. The Ag Board issued a further letter in January 2024, and since then, nothing's happened. And so I was just wondering, how do things like this ever get resolved? I have actually reached out on behalf of individually and on behalf of the Civic Association to ask the Planning Board and ZBA, but can't seem to get an answer. And in the meantime, by keeping the application pending and not, sort of in resolution, the basically allowed to continue the activity and keep the animals on the property, and also the justice court action for the violation is stayed. And so it's confusing to us as to how this moves forward or doesn't move forward and why they're allowed to continue to just keep it in limbo like that.
Jim, can you answer that quick?
Sure.
What's that? Yeah, I mean, I didn't get the whole. I mean, I think I understand the case. Berkowitz is
Kind of in
referring
limbo,
to.
and she wants to know when it gets resolved or how.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd be happy to talk to you more about it. I mean, this case has been fairly involved, so there's a lot of issues involved with it. So it's not something I'm going to talk at a town board meeting.
You want to
back and
reach out
forth.
to the town attorney's office tomorrow?
Yeah, that would be fine. We just want to understand, the reason I wanted to raise it is just we're trying to figure out what happens. Like, it's just sitting there now for more than a year, and it's been 5 years since, the initial violation, so we're just trying to figure out. So I'm happy to reach out directly.
Okay.
That would be very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Kevin, is there anyone else on Zoom?
that's everything on Zoom.
Okay, then I move to close public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
All right, let's move forward with the resolution.
Cindy's job.
Hold on, I'm getting there. Wasn't prepared. Okay. Town Board Resolution 270 of 2025, co-sponsored with Councilman Iacilli. Accept, award, authorize the supervisor to execute any and all documents pertaining to the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation Household Hazardous Waste Assistance Program grant for reimbursement of 2023 expenses.
Second, but add the word "to" between accept and award. I'm sorry.
And
Award and authorize. My bad.
Got it.
So it should read accept award to authorize.
And
So second.
No, accept award and authorize,
Oh, not two.
right?
Okay. That's fine.
however you want to make it work.
Okay.
So second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 271 of 2025, authorization for the supervisor to execute a contract with Suffolk County Office for Aging for Title III Adult Daycare.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Town Board Resolution 2025-272, authorized purchase of compressed bituminous concrete asphalt mix and cold patch using New York State OGS contracts.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-273, to authorize purchases of removal of toxic and hazardous materials with 192 Branch Interior Services using the Suffolk County contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 274 of 2025, authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with Suffolk County Office for the Aging for the residential repair program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 275 of 2025, authorize supervisor to sign 2025 contract with Suffolk County Office for the Aging to receive additional senior citizen nutrition program funding.
Second and co-sponsor, Madam Clerk.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-276, co-sponsored with Councilwoman McNamara. Authorized supervisor to sign contract with Source Pass Contemporary for the North Sea Waste Management and Network Interface Upgrade.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 277 of 2025, authorize supervisor to sign any and all documents pertaining to the 2025 shopping assistance contract with Suffolk County Office for the Aging.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-278, authorize the supervisor to sign application and contract with Suffolk County for 2025 Town of Southampton Youth Bureau programming.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-279, authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Lyro Engineers, Inc. for professional services related to environmental assessments and inspections at 59 Montauk Highway in West Hampton.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-280, to authorize the purchase of law enforcement safety equipment and supplies from the Albany County contract number RFB-2023-148 with Galls LLC.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 281 of 2025, authorizing the supervisor to apply to Suffolk County for the allocation of New York State funding for the Youth Bureau, Parks Department, and Police Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-282, co-sponsored with the entire board, authorizing the supervisor to execute a 2025 Park District grant with Hampton Bays Beautification Association for the maintenance and upkeep of the Main Street Business District.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna have to amend this one on the floor. Town Board Resolution 2025-283, authorize supervisor to execute contract amendment with X-Phase Service, Inc. for Cobb Road Shoreline Stabilization.
Second to amendment.
And I'd like to, whereas Superintendent of Highway, I'd like to change the A2 to AN.
The third,
Amendment.
whereas?
Whereas.
I'm sorry. Where are we?
The third line, whereas,
Okay.
the A2 change to AN and amend to amendment.
Recommends an amendment.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, who
Oh, I
seconds
see.
I
the
did.
amendment?
Got it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Me.
and then
And add the amendment.
as in.
Second as amended.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Town Board Resolution, I know, 2025-284, authorize the supervisor to execute a contract amendment with L.K. McLean Associates Engineering and Surveying, DPC, as it relates to the Five Island Inlet Montauk Point FIMP project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-285, to authorize the supervisor to execute a contract extension with First Coastal Corporation as it relates to the Fire Island Inlet to Montauk Point project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-286 to authorize the supervisor to execute a contract extension with Leonard J. Marchese CPA as it relates to the Fire Island Inlet to Montauk Point project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-287, authorize the supervisor to execute an extended agreement with K&D Appraisals, Inc. as it relates to the Fire Island Inlet to Montauk Point project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 288 of 2025, authorize the supervisor to execute any and all documents pertaining to the 2025 transportation contract with Suffolk County Office for the Aging.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-289. To authorize the supervisor to sign a consultant agreement with Michael J. Zarro to assist the Southampton Town Police Department Records Management Software Computer-Aided Dispatch and Building Expansion Project.
I think there's a word missing in that sentence. I think it should be assist with the Southampton Town. Reading the resolution, it has that in it.
Yeah.
Second.
To assist with?
Yeah. If you look at inside the resolution, because he's not assisting the police department. He says, it reads, he's assisting the software.
Oh. Okay, so,
I'm just gonna stick the word with in between
Yeah.
assist and the word the.
all in favor?
Aye.
And then as amended? You wanna-
Same second.
Oh, I don't think you need to.
Okay.
It's just a
All in favor?
Scribner's error.
Town Board Resolution 290 of 2025, authorizing the Youth Bureau to apply for the 2025 Youth Sports and Education Opportunity Grant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-291, co-sponsored with Councilwoman McNamara, authorize the supervisor to sign a amendment, a contract with LOE Engineer, Inc. for professional service related to the pre-demolition asset inspection for 20 South Valley Road, Hampton Bays, and 33 Bacana Trail, Flanders.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-292, co-sponsored with the whole board, authorize supervisor to sign and all documents related to the federal equitable share agreement and certification.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-293 to recall and amend Town Board Resolution number 2022-1254, authorize the supervisor to execute a 2023 maintenance agreement with G-Work Software for various town facilities.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-294 to recall and amend Town Board Resolution number 2023-911, authorize the supervisor to sign a contract with Universe, Inc.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2020-295, recall and amend Town Board Resolution number 2025-214, authorize supervisor to execute court stenograph contract with Justice Court.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 296 of 2025, 2025 notice to bidders for mobile concession Flying Point Beach.
Second.
Excuse me, I met with the Contracts Division on Friday. I spoke with Tatiana, and we came to an agreement that we were no longer going to continue filming the bid openings. We were only going to do them in person. So per our conversation, I would just be removing the word in the take further notice. It will say bid openings will be held in person at Southampton Town Hall, 116 Hampton Road, Southampton, New York, 11968, at 2 p.m. on the day the bid is due. Results will be posted in our online bid system and RFP system with the link to that.
Motion to amend.
So a motion to amend?
Second
And that
to
will
amend.
be on the next,
Okay.
all six. Okay.
Is it still going to be recorded?
Oh, yes. Well, no, we're not going to record it on video because we don't have the technology to do it live, and people want to see it live. We post the bids immediately after the openings online, so everybody can see them anyway. So that's where they would go to our Procureware system, and they would see the companies that have bid and the amounts that they bid for the projects. So
But if the people submitting the bids want to be present, they can be present at the
We
opening.
had 12, 15 people here
Yeah,
last Wednesday for the bid opening.
That's good.
So people are here, they want to see it in person.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was really an accommodation during COVID
Mhm.
that we did because we weren't able to have people in the building to watch the bid openings. And now, you know, we've come out the other side of that. And I think it's time now that we can go back to in person.
Yeah. Till the bird flu takes effect.
And the contracts welcomed that change.
Yeah.
That's
All
good.
right. So,
Second to amend?
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve is amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to amend Town Board Resolution 2025-297, 2025 notice to bidders for 4 2023 or newer Ford Maverick XL or XLT Super Crew to remove the language for it being filmed on camera.
Second to amendment?
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to approve is amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to amend Town Board Resolution 2025-298, 2025 notice to bidders for mobile concession Hot Dog Beach to remove the filmed on camera.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to approve is amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to amend Town Board Resolution 299 of 2025, 2025 notice to bidders for mobile concession Mecox Beach and W. Scott Cameron Beach to remove the on-camera language.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to approve is amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion to amend Town Board Resolution 2025-300, 2025 notice to bidders for mobile concession Red Creek Park to remove the open on-camera language.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to approve is amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 301 of 2025, 2025 reject bids and second notice to bidders for printing and mailing of Hampton Bays Water District bills.
Second.
We need the amendment here.
What, Cindy?
This one needs to be amended as well.
Motion to amend.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You have the amendments, Sunday?
It's the same amendment.
It's the same
It's just the same paragraph. as
Eliminate
No,
other-
this is a different one.
Well, this is second notice to bidders,
Oh, okay.
and in that, it
Yeah.
speaks to the filmed on camera.
Okay. Motion to approve is amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. It's too late for that.
Town Board Resolution
Sorry.
2025-302 to amend the 2024 budget for various departments.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-3003 to authorize the closure of capital projects.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-304, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara to appoint Agricultural Advisory Committee for 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-305 to appoint Michael Charrier, Chair of the Architectural Review Board for 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-306 to reappoint individuals to the Audit Advisory Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-307 to appoint Edward Moneypenny as Chair of the Audit Advisory
Could you not?
Committee for 2025.
Second, because how could you not?
All in
Like a
favor?
James Bond.
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-308 to appoint the Community Preservation Fund Advisory Committee for 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-309 to appoint Adam Halsey as Chair of the Community Preservation Fund Advisory Committee for 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Town Board Resolution 2025-310 to reappoint individuals to the Conservation Board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have one vacancy on that board, so Jeremiah Collins is not going to serve this year. So if anybody knows anyone who's interested, let us know.
Okay.
Town Board Resolution 2025-311 to appoint Harry Ludlow as Chair of the Conservation Board for 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-312 to appoint George Hine as Vice Chair of the Conservation Board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And, let's see. Town Board Resolution 2025-313 to reappoint individuals to the Landmarks and Historic Districts Board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-314 to appoint Edward Wisnowski, Chair of the Landmarks and Historic District Board for 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-315 to appoint Stephanie Davis as Vice Chair of the Landmarks and Historic Districts Board for 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-316, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to reappoint Walter Britton to the Public Safety Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-317 to appoint Jason Court to the Public Safety co-sponsored with Councilwoman McNamara, to appoint Jason Court to the Public Safety Commission.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-318, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to appoint Edwin Knight as Chair of the Public Safety Commission for 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-319, the continuation of legal services by Vincent Toomey Esquire for 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-320, co-sponsored by Councilman Pell, to retain David Arnston Esquire of the Law Offices of Voles and Vigliotta, PLLC, for all matters involving sand mines in the town of Southampton for 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 321 of 2025, resolution of adoption amending Town Code Chapter 312-36.2, parking time limited on Corwith Avenue in Bridgehampton.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 322 of 2025. This is a resolution of adoption amending Town Code Chapter 312-19, parking prohibited on Lake Avenue, County Road 63 in Northampton.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-323, co-sponsored with Councilman Pell. Resolution of adoption of a local law amending Section 123-21 of the Southampton Town Code entitled Penalties for Offenses in order to increase minimum penalties for violating a stop work order.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Town Board Resolution 2025-324. This is a resolution of adoption of a local law amending Section 229-9 of the Southampton Town Code entitled Penalty for Offenses, Additional Remedies in order to set a minimum fine for conviction of violating a stop order issued by the Natural Resources Director.
Second. Can you also add me, Ms. Clerk?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Town Board Resolution 2025-325, to authorize the supervisor to sign non-generator certification form for the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, NYSERDA, regarding low-level radioactive waste.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 326 of 2025, co-sponsored with Councilman Iacilli. Authorization of cost reimbursement waiver for the North Sea Fire Department Annual Carnival from July 1st through July 5th, 2025, from 6 p.m. to 11:30 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 327 of 2025, waive portable stage fees for Hampton Bays Fire Department Annual Carnival.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-328, co-sponsored by Council Members McNamara and Pell, to authorize the town supervisor to sign the New York State DEC Waste Transporter Permit Annual Report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-329, which is the 2025 part-time salaries.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-330, to accept the resignation of Brian Rondi, Ordinance Enforcement Officer in the Public Safety Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-331, to accept the resignation of Jared Halsey, Automotive Mechanic 3 in the Highway Department.
Second. And we're gonna miss him. He's a
Yeah.
very good mechanic.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-332, to accept the resignation of Kyle Capanzano, Automotive equipment operator in the Highway Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-333 to accept the resignation of Scott Demange, custodial worker 1 in the Municipal Works Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-334 to appoint Alex Kozinski to Maintenance Mechanic 1 in the Parks Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-335 to appoint Antonia Obara to Assistant Senior Citizen Center Manager in Senior Services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-336, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to promote Detective Michael Algazino to rank of Sergeant in the Southampton Town Police Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Town Board Resolution 2025-337, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to promote Detective Keith Phillips to the rank of Sergeant in the Southampton Town Police Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good stuff.
Guess these are all happening tomorrow night?
Possibly.
Yeah, I guess that's when they're doing it. I thought that they were coming in tonight, but
It's tomorrow because Sunday
Tomorrow
has to
night,
be there.
yes.
Hampton
Yeah.
Bays.
We don't matter. Sunday has to be there though.
And the book. The book's the most important part.
Yeah. Town Board Resolution 2025-338, co-sponsored by Councilwoman McNamara, to appoint Police Officer Kyle Pascal.
Second.
Start. All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-339, to retain Frederick M. Sullivan Esquire as special counsel for 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What is this for?
This is he's a hearing officer,
Hearing
but
officer,
I
just
don't-
another bullpen. I think we use, Vince had suggested since we use Mike Zielinski, and he's been doing a great job, but
have somebody else on
yeah,
the call.
yeah, because then you get kind of,
Okay.
to have a little diversity.
Well, they probably have a list to pick from, right?
Vince Toomey recommended this gentleman.
Okay. I'll support it. Aye.
It's just odd that they said special counsel instead of hearing officer. But
Right,
that's-
right,
Juan
right.
said
That's
that's
true.
the way they sent it over.
Okay.
So,
Right.
all in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-340, notice of public hearing to change target areas of various CPF parcels to Village and Hamlet Green, Parks, Recreation, and Open Space, and to amend the CPF Management and Stewardship Plan to include the properties under the correct designation.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-341, notice of public hearing to change target areas of various CPF parcels to wetlands target areas and amend the CPF Management and Stewardship Plan to include the properties under the correct designation.
Second, but on the motion, is this to reflect the state changes?
No, I
It's the
think
current
this is
state
just-
of affairs.
Yeah, it's just housekeeping to
Okay.
make sure
Yeah,
things
no,
are.
no, this is-
Okay. Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-342, co-sponsored by the entire board, a notice of public hearing to consider the acquisition of 670 Middle Line Highway in the hamlet of Bridgehampton, New York, and to amend the CPF Management and Stewardship Plan to include the property.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 343 of 2025, notice of public hearing to consider the acquisition of a portion of the lands of Sagvine located at 775 Middle Line Highway in the hamlet of Watermill, New York.
Second.
Shouldn't be the full board on that?
Yeah, I don't know why
Yeah.
I was the only one put on
Yeah,
that.
Sunday,
all
would
of
you?
us. Please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-344, co-sponsored by the entire board, to authorize the acquisition of 191 Middle Line Highway in the hamlet of North Sea, New York, and to amend the CPF Management and Stewardship Plan to include the property.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-345, co-sponsored by the entire board, to authorize the acquisition of 216 Old Sag Harbor Road in the hamlet of Bridgehampton, New York, and to amend the CPF Management and Stewardship Plan to include the property.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution 2025-346, to authorize the supervisor to sign an amendment to contract of sale for real property located at 112 Old Riverhead Road, West Hampton Beach, New York.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then we have our walk-ons. Town Board Resolution ID number 49130, a notice of public hearing co-sponsored by the entire board to amend Town Code Chapter 157 entitled Environmental Quality Review by adding new subsection 8, designating battery energy storage facilities with an aggregate nameplate AC energy capacity in excess of 600 kilowatts to a maximum of 19 megawatts as a type 1 action for purposes of seeker.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution ID number 49133, co-sponsored by Councilmember Michael Iacilli, to recall and amend Town Board Resolution 2024-1485 to authorize the supervisor to sign a consultant agreement with Thomas Neely, doing business as TFN Advisors.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Town Board Resolution 49142, authorize supervisor to sign a contract with L.K. McLean, Associate Engineer and Survey DPC, to provide engineer service associated with preparing of various community preservation fund applications.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town Board Resolution ID number 49143, which is the warrant number 4, capital number 4, CPF number 4, dated February 25th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Town Board Resolution ID number 49149, to approve the application, oh my gosh, this is getting bad.
You got this.
To approve payment of the application tap fee for the Suffolk County Water Authority hydrant installation at North Sea Landfill Solar Project.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, well, there being no further business.
Did you want to mention?
Oh, the bridge. I will just mention that we're in communication with Commissioner Bartha and the county about the repairs to the Pompog Bridge, and that we'll keep the community informed as we get additional information. Right now, the state and the county are looking at the bridge to see what kind of repairs are needed and whether we can access it at all during the repairs. And it's unfortunate that it happened, but repairs need to be done, and at least it's not the summer. So
Yeah, well, I had a meeting today with the Shinnecock Dock Committee, and it's really affecting commercial fishing.
Sure.
well, we did express the urgency in getting
Yeah.
this done as quickly as possible, so they know that.
And Kristen is also, concerned with in the summer getting
Yeah.
people that are going to want to work at the beaches and having to drive.
Yeah.
It's usually parents dropping their kids off at work, and if they have to drive all the way to Quogue or West Hampton to go back to Conquag or
No, that'll be really
Yeah.
difficult, so hopefully the repairs will be able to be completed before then, but we'll stay on it and keep the updates coming.
Perfect.
All right, so move to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everyone.